The first thing you said when the tea time chat started was, a Tylenol would be great about now. You know the funniest part here? You were muted. I didn't unmute you before I said that, so I just leaked what line you just said.
Rude. I am being bullied.
Hey guys.
I am being actually bullied. Unrelentingly.
So
Am I still muted,
no, you're not
Sandra?
muted.
Or do you not have us on low latency?
I don't know. That was my mistake.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'll pop into the actual chat room. Because it doesn't fuck up with it if it... Ooh, oh. What? Oh, there it is. So I can view in live control room. Let me pop out the chat for myself.
So I normally keep my streams on normal latency so it minimizes any YouTube problems.
Oh.
But that means like something like this where it probably wouldn't be that big a deal. I sometimes just forget to switch to low latency.
Yeah. What do you mean, where is Guy Bolg for me?
Look, Seki's already taken a mortal wound. Seki, do you want to explain what happened to the people?
Yeah, so I got in a fight with a bear, like, like any good Russian does. And, I definitely won. Um, but I might have broken my ankle. The crunch was not reassuring this morning.
Seki,
It
why you
was
gotta be lying like that?
it was very loud
Look,
and crunchy.
the fuck are you doing? You shouldn't be lying like that. Just tell them you rolled it walking from the living room to the fucking bathroom.
It was literally 5 steps on flat ground. There wasn't even a change in texture, and it just rolled and it
This bitch
and
always lying.
now it's double its size and it's wrapped up with an ice pack and it's extremely painful. And I didn't want to, yeah, because American healthcare system. If I go to like urgent care or the ER, they're just gonna be like, "Can you feel your toes? Do you feel your knee? Is the pain spreading?" And I'm gonna go, "No, it's very localized, and I can still feel my toes and my knee." And they're gonna go, "Okay, this is a non-emergency. You can wait until we've dealt with everything else important." And I do not have time this weekend. Um, Nady, I appreciate you. I will find a bear skin.
So for my tea this week, I've got this tea from this place called Woodsong Herbs. It
We talked about
is,
that last time.
yeah, it is a, let's see, it's called Dragonheart, but it is a,
Should say what it is on the bag.
so pure Egyptian Carcade hibiscus flowers with organic goji berry powder. It's a green tea.
Yeah. Wait, so remember last stream we were talking about the different words for hibiscus flowers?
Yeah,
And like Nady, I think it was Nady had made a hibiscus tea, but it was a different name. So karkade, that's the Egyptian word. Okay,
fair
I thought it
enough.
was a green tea for some reason. Didn't realize it was a white tea because flower teas are white teas.
Yeah, no, it says it's a green tea.
Oh, so it must have a green tea in the blend.
Yeah.
Okay, I have Hufflepuff from the same company. It's black tea, chamomile, lemon peel, and vanilla bean. Because I felt like I needed the pick me up of chamomile and vanilla bean. It smells like a dessert. But I'm also kind of cheating because I've got iced Korean packet drink lemonade as my backup for like it being a little warmer at this point and waiting for my hot tea to steep.
Look, I'm just saying it's not that warm. It is like 60 degrees out right now.
My entire ankle is 5 degrees hotter than the rest of the house.
But that said, once it does start hitting those 80, 90, 100-degree weathers, you best believe tea time, it's not going to be warm tea. It's going to be iced tea that I brewed at the beginning of the week.
I mean, to be fair, I should also clarify that my AC is currently slightly on the fritz, and it's not really cooling the house, so the house is warmer than normal, like significantly. So There's that too. I'm not just a pussy when it comes to heat. I mean, I am, but like, it's not just that. You know?
Yeah. So chat's asking how everyone's lotto runs are going. Seki has not started the event. I wanted to do more on it today than I did, but today has been kind of a hell day at my day job. Not gonna get into it, but I've only like managed to do like literally one of my AP bar runs on any grinding nodes. It's not. I've not had much time to go through it, and I took one look at that 90++ node and said, nope. My Tiamat's 111 NP1. I ain't pulling this shit off right now without a lot of brain power.
I do want Nady to know that I did read the message you sent about the good day to everyone except the person who designed that, and I was openly cackling when Nick Nack got back from preparing his tea. Like, loudly cackling. I thought that was funny as shit. Okay, now I have hot tea.
Awesome. Can I actually drink my tea now?
Oh. So, on the topic of gaming, but not FGO, because I feel like it's good to start off sometimes with not just 100% FGO for my own mental health. The original Helldivers game is on sale. Like, a really good sale. But the thing is, I was meaning to get Helldivers 2, and I figured that I should probably pick up both and try both, right? But Helldivers 2, because I have friends who play it and they want me to play it with them, right? Because they think it'll be funny to put my grasp of controls behind a game where friendly fire is allowed, right? Which sounds like a fantastic idea, doesn't it, Nick Nack?
Oh, I love friendly fire in Helldivers 2. I haven't played Helldivers 2 myself, but I've seen the clips of it, and I love the dev responsible asking for them to remove it, just like, no. Why we won't remove it? Because it's fucking funny.
Yeah, like, I greatly appreciate that, but also, my grasp of controls is rudimentary at best, and so I have very little hope of actually managing, like, appropriate controls. So I'm like, Helldivers 2 isn't on sale, but Helldivers 1 is on a really good sale. So, like, it would literally be, like, for me to get both games, it would be, like, the price of literally Helldivers plus $3. And so I'm kind of like, do I get it? Like, it's unusual for me to buy a game that's not on sale. But Helldivers 2 hasn't gone on sale since I put it in my wish list.
It's a relatively new game. And it's popular too, and it's a multiplayer game. So long as it's maintaining its user base, it's not ever going to have a point where it dips in popularity. Sales are mostly promotional.
Yeah, so I'm kind of like, do I just bite the bullet and get it now? I have one other game in my Steam cart right now. It's Shadow Gambit: The Cursed Crew. But that's because that one's on like a really good deal as well, and has been for like most of the month. It was like one of Steam's like monthly deals or something.
TR Origins, I'm right there with you. I need to be more active on that Discord than I am.
I don't know. You felt like pissing me off this morning.
It wasn't this morning. It was last night. Hey, look, a segue. So Nintendo Switch pre-orders went up last night and this morning. I don't envy the people that fought GameStop. Apparently GameStop's website was the single worst website to get the Switches on. But I guess in stores were apparently fine. And yes, I did. If you were watching the saga of Nick Nack versus robots, I did manage to pull 3 Switches last night.
Were you going for 3 initially, or did you just kind of go back and think, oh, what if I get like a couple more for my brothers?
So initially the plan was up to 3. Okay. It was always get 1 if I can. Didn't even think I was going to manage 1 because historically pre-orders on consoles have been terrible, at least in the last couple console launches.
I remember PlayStation 5.
Yeah, that was bad. Like, we didn't get ours at launch, and ours was terrible even afterwards.
I remember you having to help me after I spent 4 months trying to get one.
And I got really good.
And I never got one, technically, by following their stupid drop calendar and wait lists. Like, I literally never got one, and I tried for 6 months.
Yeah. So, but I went in there looking for 1, and I got one, actually. I thought I had already, failed. Like, it was like 30, 40 minutes in, and I finally got one. And that's when I realized that the reason... Because everyone was like, oh, man, sold out at minute 1. No one got any this time. And I was right there with them until I got one. And at that point, I realized that the problem wasn't that there wasn't stock. It's that the rush of traffic to these sites fucking demolished all 3 sites that had Switch pre-orders, which were Best Buy, Target, and Walmart.
And which one
So
did you order through?
I had all 3 websites open up on 3 different tabs.
Yeah, but which one did you succeed on? Was it like one of each or like
One of
one of
each.
each? Oh, you really hit the lottery there.
Yeah. So the Walmart was the first one that went through because Walmart probably had the. Look at me giving rare praise to Walmart here. Walmart handled the Switch pre-orders the best. Their website didn't immediately die. What I'm pretty sure they did was start the queue early so that it didn't get like the bots or the scalpers that were immediately going in at that time. And that pissed a few people off because it did fuck with a few people. But also, I'm pretty sure they held off actually once the line started. They didn't start letting people in for at least 20 minutes in order to weed people out that were like, oh, damn, I already failed, which are going to be the people not as hardcore trying to get them.
Yeah, and so you're only left with the people who are... Okay.
And a lot of people... And I think having all 3 going at once sort of sifted people between them pretty well. Here's the thing, though. Like, a lot of people, even then, even at that 40-minute mark, were like, okay, this must be the last of them. I'm pretty sure it was the first of them. Because then I turned around, and I wasn't trying very hard on Best Buy. But Best Buy, on a whim, I just opened... and I started this, 30 minutes late. I opened up on the base model, not even the Mario Kart bundle, which is the better deal. I opened up on the base model. And within 10 minutes, I got through that line. The Mario Kart bundle, I was waiting there for 70, 80 minutes before it let me through. And by then, I already had all 3 I wanted. So I got into the base model on Best Buy through their line, which Best Buy was fucked, by the way. Best Buy, 30 minutes before the console drop, the website was already having problems. I couldn't log in on some devices. And... I couldn't update my address. I couldn't update my payment information. Everything was fucked and the console wasn't even launched yet. Console finally launches late. They launch 20, 30 minutes late, actually.
Yeah.
So eventually Best Buy's, the non-bundle console goes through on my end. And there's console number 2. Target was where a lot of people had the earliest success. Because Target systems... did not do a line queue. Target
also got some notorious issues with online drops of products.
Target was every man for himself. They started that drop and is at 9 p.m. on the dot Pacific, midnight Eastern, and everyone went in at once. And I got the Switch 2 Mario Kart bundle in my cart. And
sold
then
when you went to play?
No, it was in my cart, and Target just was not processing my payment. I went through my red card, and I got notified by Target that my fraud alert, and I'm like, fuck. So I switched over to another card, and it was still payment not going through, not even sending fraud alerts this time. I'm like, okay, Target's dead. I probably lost this one. And then I'm closing up after getting to, I'm like, okay, I only got one extra offered to both brothers. I'm sure someone will want it. And I'm like, Target still has it in my cart. I wonder if I can do it. Ding, Apple Pay goes through.
So you're gonna be selling them to your brothers at a slight upcharge, just for the effort.
No, I'm not upcharging them. Look, I said I'm not scalping these. I'm not scalping these even for a fucking buck.
No, that's fair. That's fair. You are a better person than I.
I gave my parents and my brothers the exact price, and my brothers are... actually, my parents are getting it for my brothers because something happened. They have some extra money to spend on luxury goods that they kind of deserve to spend on luxury goods after what happened. Seki knows.
Had a rough 6 months. Your parents have had a rough 6 months.
This was last year. It's fine now, but my parents are buying it for them on that budget.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
I did not know it was launching. And to be honest, I really did not care.
Personally. No, I didn't think so. Otherwise, I would have offered to get you one too, but I didn't think you cared.
No. I just don't. I just don't care. Yeah.
I'll say this.
So
Oh,
I
sorry,
am
go ahead.
curious. I am curious about what Dakota Joel is talking about with the anti-scalping efforts.
So there are different websites had different ones, but I know which one Dakota was talking about. I'll say this first though. The reason I was willing, like besides just my brothers, even if they didn't want to buy it, that was also to combat the potential that Walmart turns around and says, "Hey, we don't have this stock, canceling this on you the next morning." That was a
Yeah.
glitch in our system, which has happened in the past at console launches. But what Dakota Doyle is talking about here with the anti-scalping measures, everyone has their own. I didn't actually see it on Target or Best Buy this time. But Walmart had a notorious one this time. This is not the one I think Dakota Doyle is talking about, where you click and it asks you, "Are you a robot?" Click here and hold. And you have to hold for an obnoxiously long time. Some people got stun locked with this. Like they'd click it and hold, and then it'd be like, "Okay, you're good," and then immediately, like a few minutes later, have them do it again. I only
Yeah.
had that happen once, and it was before the console even dropped. I refreshed a couple too many times. It made me do it once. And then I was clear I didn't run into that at all while waiting. But that was apparently the bane of people at Walmart, going for Walmart that failed.
It makes me wonder if perhaps, well, I think this is absolutely true, but I think that Switch is probably taking some pretty firm lessons from both the PlayStation 5 launch, and all the recent Pokemon card issues.
Yeah, those.
Um, because like I mean, granted, I don't buy Pokemon cards, so it hasn't been a problem for me per se, but I've seen the measures that they're implementing all over the US and in other places, trying to like control and stop people from like completely scalping just entire vending machines worth of cards or entire shelves worth of cards. And it's insane. And it's so fucking stupid. And I also remember the struggle that was the PS5. I mean, we weren't like, I wasn't even trying to get one near launch. It had been out for like what, 6, 7 months, maybe almost a full year before I started trying to get one.
So I know
Because it came out pre-quarantine, right? The PS5.
No, it came out in quarantine.
Did it come out 2020?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was trying to get one like the whole next year in 2021. And like I said, I started trying, I want to say in like January or February. I remember it came out in like November because it came out with Elden Ring. Um, but I remember I started trying in like January, and you didn't manage to find me one until May. And I never managed to get through those queues. And I was there like every single Tuesday and Thursday on the PlayStation website, clicking into the queue, waiting, getting stuck, you know? It was insane.
So I actually do know what Dakota Dill is talking about there. That's not the one I thought he was talking about, but that's the one. There, I do know what that one is. So that one's actually not a Switch side or a Nintendo side or even a retail side anti-scalping measure. This is a community side anti-scalping measure. What they're doing is they're flooding eBay and some online community listings with screenshots of the Nintendo Switch 2, labeled screenshots of the Nintendo Switch 2, and put up at the like what you would expect the prices to be at bit when scalped, so that A, it deters people from buying it because, oh look, I could be accidentally buying a screenshot, and B, it floods that listing when people look up Nintendo Switch 2 with non-scalp listings, so it screws over the scalper's abilities to sell in the market.
Well, and that's 100% a tactic that was taken from the PS5 launch, because I remember that happening to PS5s, and people were like, "What the fuck? I just paid $600 for I literally got emailed a picture of the PS5, and it's like, dude, it was in the description. You just didn't read it."
But the one I thought Dakota Dill was talking about is Nintendo. They did their own Switch anti-scalping thing. We'll see how well this goes, actually. I'm probably not hopping on that since I've already secured 3. But
Yeah.
I did make preparations to be able to do it, so I'll see when it actually goes live. Nintendo set it up so that their own store, like basically the equivalent of the PlayStation Direct store that I got your PlayStation from, the Nintendo version of that is only selling to people who A, have over 60 hours logged on their Nintendo Switch. That's actually not as hard as you would think. Have an
60
act.
hours logged, though.
Hmm?
I don't have 60 hours logged on a Switch, so that makes sense.
Yeah, have you ever played a Switch game to completion? Exactly.
But it makes sense to me, is like
Yeah.
if that's the equivalent of like a game completed, you know.
Not every game completed, but like to put it in perspective, those 4 games right there, that stack, each of those are like 80 hours a pop. And I've completed 3 of them.
Yeah.
One multiple times. So, no, it's not that hard to do if you're even a casual gamer, in my opinion. You just have to be a casual Nintendo gamer. You're not really a casual Nintendo gamer. You only play Pokemon on the stream on the Switch.
Yeah.
You need to get back to that, by the way.
Yeah, I do. I should bring it with me when I'm going to be down by you for the next month.
Yeah, we could set up a stream like that if I have time. But there are more requirements than just playing 60 hours though. You also have to have an active Nintendo Online membership at the highest tier, so the tier that you have actually through the family membership I have, which it's high, but it's only about the same cost as the PlayStation tiers.
The lowest tier or the middle or the highest tier?
Lowest tier.
Okay. Because I pay for that tier.
Yeah, it's about the same cost for that one on an individual basis, I'm pretty sure. And then the final requirement was you had to have your notifications on for their newsletter. So basically, you have to actually be a Nintendo fan to pre-order one.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really dupe that very easily.
That makes sense. You know?
That's only been a thing in America. They haven't started yet to see how the stock looks. In Japan, they said that that in order to you had to do that, and you didn't immediately get to pre-order from the store. You were entered into a lottery to see if you could pre-order it, and they were. This is Japan-style lotteries. They were fucking brutal. The developers of one of Nintendo's most popular franchises failed to get his Nintendo Switch 2 pre-ordered.
Respectfully, the way that I would throw hands if I had to be in a lotto system for that shit. Well, I mean, like, I literally had basically given up on getting a PlayStation and was considering other options when you finally snagged one.
The craziest part is,
genuinely,
it wasn't even like they understocked. They sold 2.2 million Switch 2s in the pre-orders in Japan alone.
Jesus.
And that's a lot for Japan. That outdid the PS5 and the... Well, it's not hard to outdo Xbox Series X in Japan.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that outdid the PS5 in Japan.
Yeah. I'm not surprised, but Jesus.
Like, they are overstocking these Switches to try getting it into as many people's hands as possible.
But that's smart, especially since Switch is trying to bank on lower console price but higher game price.
Yeah.
As opposed to, because we've discussed this before, I don't remember if it was on stream or not, I think it might have been, but like that dichotomy of like slightly lower console price, handheld, movable, but higher game price on average and less sales, less ability to get things cheap.
It's kind of apparent that's their strategy right now too, because they actually also in this last week they announced the tariff price, like the post-tariff prices, and post-tariffs, the Nintendo Switch had no price hike. The Nintendo Switch is going to be the same post-tariffs as they were pre-tariffs, so still the same original price tags. Instead, they only raised prices on the extra accessories, so like the cameras that they sell, the extra controllers, those prices raised, but the actual Switch prices and the game prices did not.
They're probably taking a slight hit at that, but in return for the higher sales, it's going to pay out in the long run.
It's not the first time they've done that, though, because I don't think they're fully selling at a loss here, but in the past, there was the Nintendo GameCube. The GameCube was...
famous. Yeah. I remember that. I've heard about this because I do watch gaming history videos on YouTube. I did hear about that.
Yeah, just for the audience, if you guys have never heard of this story before, the GameCube was famously sold at a loss so that they could make higher profits on game prices. But I think
because if everyone had one, everyone would want to buy games.
In more recent years, that's fallen out of style, though, because game prices have, like, bitching and moaning about how high game prices are aside, because they are high and consumer spending power has not increased. Inflation definitely has, though, but games have remained, the game prices themselves have remained relatively stagnant in favor of console prices raising. So, outside of, like, you get, like, what? $5-10 every 10 years they relatively increase the price. This is the biggest price jump in a while because the standard's been 60. It's going to 80 after barely settling at 70. So this is a bit excessive. I'm not defending Nintendo here, but that has been the pattern, has been console price raise over games. That seems to not be the pattern anymore. Developers are trying to sell their games at a higher cost, and it seems like the developers, Nintendo at least so far, is leading the way and trying to keep the console prices down.
Which, on that note, just as a slight aside, part of the reason why I'm even considering buying Helldivers 2 without a discount, but with the extreme discount on Helldivers 1, is because Helldivers 2 is only $39.99. It's not $59.99. It's not $69.99. And I can justify
I wonder.
$39.99 a little bit better than I can $69.99.
I wonder what Helldivers.
Oh,
Well, was that Helldivers 2's launch price, or was
I
that
don't know,
a
but
price drop? Not a sale, but a
I
price
don't.
drop.
Yeah, I don't know, but Helldivers 1 is listed in $19.99 originally.
Helldivers 1's fucking old.
I know, it's currently on sale for like $3.
Okay, no, Helldivers 2 has at launch been $39.99, so that hasn't really been the standard. I want to say the last time games were $39.99 might have been the Wii.
Yeah.
Like that was the standard at the Wii. We're starting like standard for console games that the consumers used to paying for right now is $60.
Oh,
And that's just
I,
way too. I know that's way too expensive for what you're normally willing to pay.
should I go grab and show off the monstrosity?
Monstros. Oh yeah, you've been talking about that for a bit. Go get it. Go get it.
Yeah.
I've got my own monstrosity to show off later, but I'll get there when I get there. Oh yeah, I'm well aware that like gaming on a budget or gaming on sale, but only buying on sale or not buying at all in some people's cases is just generally something consumers lean into, especially if you're on PC. PC gamers in particular are not typically buying games at full price unless they're like real hardcore. I would honestly even say Xbox gamers aren't doing that either. PlayStation gamers a lot more, and then Nintendo gamers, they're pretty much only buying at full price. That's just how that works. All right, you guys got to see the size of this fucker.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, the Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remaster is priced too high for what it is, in my opinion.
$50 is a budget game today for a launch price.
Yeah, but
I know you're a cheap ass about video games.
But for people who already own the fancy edition of the original, that's too much.
The people that own the fancy edition of the original own it on fucking Xbox.
No!
Original.
I have the fucking Game of the Year or whatever edition or some shit on PlayStation on PC. Not Game of the Year, but I have like the fancy edition on PC. Deluxe or something. I know I have it. Pull it up.
Okay, but you have to actually look at the like. I see that this is a remake from the ground up, though. It's not. It's
an edition.
Yeah, $50 is a steal. Justice is right for a game like at the scale of the Oblivion remaster. That is a pretty big steal. Like the fact that they didn't pull a Nintendo and charge full price. Actually, I don't remember if they charged full price or not, but they charged full price for a really, really cheap ass remake of a Wii game. That's not worth it. Oblivion is absolutely worth it compared to something like that.
To be fair, 50 is the base price. It is 60 if you want the extras that they added for the new edition. So.
Yeah, look, I get it. You're a cheap ass when it comes to video games, and no one hates you for it. It's a valid thing to do. You're the general consumer, or you're the lower budgeted consumer on gaming. No one blames you, but also that's not a price I want to discourage developers from launching their games at. That's a pretty solid price for to be saying they should be launching their games at and supporting.
Yeah, see, because it's the DLC adds an additional $10 to that, and you get like just you get new quests for a couple of armors, art book and soundtrack, story expansions, and some other stuff.
Is this for the new Oblivion remake?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's 60 for all that.
But I'm going to defend that DLC because it's for no other reason than I think it's funny. Because you know why? Oblivion and DLC go hand in hand. The first ever like microtransaction DLC, like low cost, like actual DLC, Modern DLC starts with Oblivion, and it's a meme. The first DLC ever was fucking horse armor.
That's what they're giving you new quests for.
Exactly. That's the meme. That's why I'm like, oh my god. For once I'm like, no. Keep the horse armor. This is hilarious that we keep this.
Also, Dakota Doyle, fuck Xbox Game Pass. I don't have Xbox.
You can actually do Game Pass on PC. It's a pretty good deal if you're just trying to have basically gaming Netflix, but also if you don't play that many games, it's like Netflix. Yeah. Like, how many movies do you have to watch on Netflix before it becomes worth its value?
Per month. Yeah. On that note, on the note of things that I thought were extremely overpriced, but in this case have kind of come around to.
Yeah, I don't ever want to hear you being a cheap ass about games again after this.
So remember how I was complaining I couldn't afford the physical deluxe of the Indiana Jones game when it released on PlayStation? Well, Vorn made a transaction with me and bribed me to read and edit some of his papers for school in return for giving me the money to buy it. And I was not expecting it to be this big or detailed. And this is just the case, which has a fun little mechanism that if you take this, like, vintage airplane magnet and you put it on the right location, it opens. And inside that is this case, I think, which will fit the game eventually, but also holds my little artifact replica. The game itself, and a journal that has been signed. I think potentially by like one of the game developers or something. And they all just kind of sit inside, and then when you want to close it, you take this off, line the continents up, and then it seals itself closed, and then this can be put on any one of the like 6 other magnetic locations across the globe, but it doesn't mark where those magnetic locations are, so you have to find them. So far I've found like 4. And also on this globe are marked, outside of just the main locations from the game, which are marked on this red circle that's going across, are also the accurate locations of a bunch of other famous archaeological sites from all over the world. Actually really cool. And it's massive. I mean, Nick Nack has seen this in person. It is truly large.
You ever want a good comparison for how large something is? Just look at it next to their head. Speaking of looking at things next to their head.
Headphones next to it. So yeah, I have this. I have nowhere to put this at the moment.
She doesn't.
I really I'm gonna be honest, I think I really thought that the globe was gonna be like this big. From looking at the pictures, not that big. So it's just been sitting on the living room table for a month. It also came inside of a cardboard box, printed to look like one of those fancy traveler's chests, like with the brass ends and stuff, with stickers from different universities and archaeological sites all over the globe, which I have kept.
So, speaking of giant monstrosities the size of your face,
Yeah.
Easter just came on, and like me, I've been trying to be a lot healthier lately. Exercising more, eating just a little tiny bit better, and intermittent fasting. And then for Easter, my parents decided to buy me one of these motherfuckers. Like I said, put it right next to your face.
I have a slightly smaller one that I've already started working on.
I've literally had this thing sitting on my kitchen table, staring at me. I don't know how to approach this.
I'm gonna be honest, what I would recommend doing, probably, is just for preservation of the chocolate itself, break it up into like 8 or 9 pieces and put a bunch of them in the fridge.
Look, I'm gonna go through this. I finished the other candy I got for Easter. The problem is, this thing total is more than your like. If you're following the 2,000 calories a day rule, this exceeds that.
Yeah, of course it does. It's Hershey's.
This is, according to the back of the box, 18 servings.
Yeah. So break it up into like 9 pieces.
My brother had the right idea.
Um,
I think he's melting his, because he got one too. I think he's
yeah.
melting his down and turning it into hot chocolate.
You know what? That's valid. Good morning, Jens. Tea with breakfast before work is always great. And it is really fucking cool. It is a desk centerpiece. It is absolutely just a free globe, to be honest. Because it's not inaccurate, at least in the way that the continents are. Like, the archaeological sites are labeled correctly, and like, even though countries aren't labeled, like, some geographical locations are labeled, so it's like, it's not a terrible globe. Like, I've seen worse. I got my mom and I were at Walmart for some grocery shopping, and so we got ourselves just a couple of smaller bunnies, and then mom got one of those like Ferrero Rochers that's like this big for Easter, and then I got that giant milk chocolate solid as my Ferrero Rocher of the year. But we also got like the little like Lunt hollow ones.
Hey, nice, Cicada. Donzo and an NP3 Donzo and the spider waifu.
See, Nady, that's why you start with the ears and head. There was an American like Sunday morning, like the little cartoons in the newspaper cartoon. Where I remember one Easter they published, like, this girl was going around and she was finding all of the Easter bunnies hidden throughout her house, and everyone she found was missing like its ears and its head. And she was like, "What?" And then her parents were just like, "I don't know," with like chocolate on their mouths because they'd strategically gone through and eaten the ears and head off of every single bunny but left the rest for her. And my parents made a joke about that when that one came out. And so for a while they did that, and now I always start with the ears now. Oh, oh my god, my ankle. Oh, but yeah.
Is there anything else in the news or anything else recently that'd be fun to bring up here?
Not without getting political. And I'm not getting political on screen.
Yeah, you're
Nope.
you hold me back on that one.
Yep. I'm not dealing with that. Let me see if there's anything pops up on my, oh my god, I'm looking up. Let's see. Jesus. Yeah, because I normally I get like a lot of like gaming and other news on like my normal feed these days. I think because I just like click into stuff sometimes. And I swear to God, this is like the 5th time this week I've seen Elder Scrolls 6 teased for the first time in years in new trailer, and I'm like, no. Even if there is a new trailer, I don't believe it.
No, honestly, the
I
biggest
don't
tease for
believe it.
Elder Scrolls 6 is the existence of the Oblivion remake, because remaking a game like that is a pretty good way to test an engine for something brand new.
Yeah. Oh, I had a genius idea the other day, right? Totally unrelated to gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Hear me out. Actually, I had it this morning. Now, garlic, sourdough, focaccia, caprese sliders.
That was too many words.
But it sounds delicious, doesn't it? Or, let me rephrase this. Garlic, focaccia, sourdough, any sliders. Cut it in half, lengthwise, put individual portions on, and then cut it into sliders. Does that not sound divine?
I get it. Probably tastes pretty good.
I mean, you've had my garlic sourdough focaccia.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. I had the thought because I was at Easter brunch Sunday, and somebody made what I think was a sourdough focaccia, but it was sweet and it was filled with like cinnamon sugar and jam, and like the cinnamon sugar had like crusted into the bottom of it with like the neutral oil that they used, and it had created this like crackly cinnamon sugary crust on the bottom of the focaccia. pan, and it was absolutely divine. Like 10 out of 10. Justice, if you haven't, it's really good. Especially, honestly, I think my sourdough starter is pretty young, so it's not incredibly sour yet. So sourdough starters develop more of a sour taste the longer that they live. So mine's still pretty mild, and I don't bake a lot of sourdough bread with it, but I bake a lot of other things with it. And I've done focaccia a few times now
It's kind
because
of
it's
weird, but
so simple.
I feel like sourdough, like good sourdough, like actually good sourdough, is kind of regional.
Yeah, I,
It's
I
like
don't know if
it's
it's
not like it's not
necessarily.
like it's like locked to one region, but like
Yeah,
it's just like even here where we're at in like in Cali, we're in Cali.
yeah.
Yeah, you tend to get more sourdough the closer you get to San Francisco.
It's not even that. It's that I think a lot of the times when you're getting sourdough in restaurants, for example, a lot of the times it's in the context of a bread bowl, right?
hmm
And when making a bread bowl, they have to make it dense enough that when they carve out the center, it doesn't dissolve when the soup is added. So it ends up being a lot thicker and denser than a sourdough should be, and it has more of a bready texture, and you don't quite get that crackle on top all the times. Um, Whereas opposed to like a place that just makes really good sourdough, like sourdough should be crackly and crunchy on the outside before even being toasted, right? Like you should crack through the crust of it. And then the inside, to be honest, some people are like, oh, your sourdough should have giant holes going all through it. I actually prefer my sourdough a little bit on the denser side because then you can put things in it and it doesn't't fall out of the holes, to be honest.
I it depends. Like I definitely see the appeal of having the denser inside, especially in the context of a bowl or in the context of say you're using
Like
it for something else.
toast.
But like for if I'm just here's the thing, I don't ever make sourdough toast unless I'm using cheap sourdough. When I'm eating sourdough bread, typically I'm literally just tearing a piece off of sourdough
Yeah.
bread and maybe I'll dip it in something.
Yeah, that's
And
if you're eating it that way, then it should be light, airy, and full of holes on the inside.
yeah.
Yeah, because then you want it to be light and airy. I, sourdough works really well into focaccia because focaccia on its own, I like focaccia, but the flavor of focaccia bread can often be slightly overwhelmed by the fact that you're using so much olive oil or whatever oil you're using. And the sourdough presents sort of like a conflicting flavor that allows you to actually taste the bread per se under the amount of oil, because I don't know if you guys know the way focaccia is made, but olive oil goes in, or whatever oil you choose to use goes into the dough, and then it sits proving, and then it goes into a pan with like a quarter cup of oil in the bottom, and then you pour more oil on top after it's proved and like make divots with your fingers for the oil to sit in, and then the bread as it bakes soaks up the oil. um, so I think the sourdough works really well on focaccia because it does provide that like fight back against like just the pure flavor of olive oil, which could be overwhelming. Um, but yeah, no, I mean when I make sourdough bread, I think if I'm buying a good sourdough, I like it to be light and airy because I'm usually just going to eat it on its own, right? Or use it as a dipper, right? In a little bit of olive oil or just on its own. But when I make it at home, I do prefer it to be a little bit denser because I don't often sit there with an entire sourdough bowl that I've made, like eating it. I'll want to use it for like toast and other stuff throughout the week, and for that I need the denser inside. So I don't mind. I still want the crackle on the outside though. You need to have that crunchy outside. You need to have that. It's a requirement. I went to a spot the other day. I went to a sandwich and soup spot with a friend who wanted sandwiches and recommended this place. And I got the sourdough soup bowl, and the entire sourdough soup bowl had the texture of wet paper from the top to the bottom. It dissolved before I finished the soup. Like, actually started dissolving.
It's complicated because like your average like even mom and pop like sandwich place or soup place, they might have sourdough, but chances are they get their sourdough from the same place they get all their other breads. When we're
Yeah.
talking good sourdough, we're talking the stuff that you either make yourself or from places that are like dedicated to sourdough. Like even like chain places dedicated to sourdough make pretty good sourdough. It's just
I'm gonna
like
be
when you're
honest.
just making a sandwich place or just a soup place and you're
Yeah.
just getting bread and you get sourdough, chances are they just got the bread from the same supplier, which is not going to be very high quality sourdough.
Controversial opinion here, right? Well, two things. One is not a controversial opinion. One of the best places in California, at least, to get sourdough that is a chain is Sourdough and Co. And that's because it's their whole brand, right? Like this is what they do as a living, right? Sourdough
Mm-hmm.
for bowls, sourdough for other stuff, sourdough in the shape of animals. They do like sourdough teddy bears. We've both gotten one of those before and eaten it. So like that's the best place to get sourdough is a Sourdough and Co. If you're going to a chain store that's relatively affordably priced. Coming in really strongly, in my opinion, with a really, really solid sourdough offering in terms of bowls, Panera. I've never had a bad sourdough bowl at Panera. It's always crispy and crackly on top, and it's always light enough, even though it's dense enough to hold the soup.
See, that's that I was actually kind of alluding to Panera there when I said the chain places because you don't usually consider like chain places to have higher quality things than the mom and pop shops, and it's not the mom and pop shop's fault. I think the thing is sourdough in particular is
It's
more
hard.
so than any other bread. It is a dedicated process. So if your chain place is built around having sourdough, chances are they're not just like switching to. They can't just switch to something cheaper. They're using a sourdough starter they've probably had since the chain's inception. It's
Because the
not
whole
like
thing with Panera is that they are a bread and bakery first.
whereas places that don't build themselves around sourdough, like like Panera with their bowls or Sourdough and Co. with just the bread, they're they're not they can jump between we're not using the starter we don't have a starter, we're just buying from a supplier, and that's sourdough even more en masse technically than even these chain places which are making their own sourdough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I know both Sourdough and Co and Panera make their own breads and bakery items. Um, so I've never had a bad sourdough bowl at Panera. It's definitely like it's not light and airy, but it's not meant to be, and they still get it crackly and crunchy on top. And honestly, put a tomato soup in it, then you just start tearing off parts of the bowl and dipping it in the soup because that's a dipper on its own.
That said, like if you have the time and energy, having your own sourdough starter is divine.
And I will say, having Ashia Domon, having Domon, it is relatively once it's going and you're confident that it is alive and thriving, right? It is relative. You can make it low maintenance. I haven't fed Domon in 2 weeks because he's been in the fridge. Because sourdough starters can easily sit in the fridge for like up to 3 weeks before you need to pull them out, warm them up, feed them. Some people leave them in there for like months and months and months and then have to like revive them. I don't quite want to do that. Ashi is still pretty young, and usually older sourdoughs do better with that. But I mean, and the thing is, like, depending on your starter and your temperature, like some people are like, hey, you need to feed like twice a day, right? And you're like, oh my god, that's like even with a small starter, that's flour twice a day, that's mixing, that's time, that's effort. Ashia is a really slow riser. So I was feeding Ashia like once every 30 hours or so, consistently, like once a day or once every day and a half. And Ashia was doing perfectly fine. Because that's just how Ashia works. Everyone's sourdough is completely different. And you know the funny part? Remember how I restarted Ashia on a loan from Winterwolf's
Yeah.
sourdough starter? Um, she killed hers. It went blue and fuzzy last week because she hadn't fed it in like a week because she thought it was doing fine countertop. And she was like, "Yeah, it's colder at my house, so it's been fine." And I'm like, "You really need to feed that more often." Anyways, it got blue and fuzzy, so she will be taking some of Ashia back from me to restart Ava,
Yeah.
which I think is a little bit funny.
It
Um,
sourdoughs
but
can be effort more so than any other type of bread you can make.
yeah, I will say the other big time sink of sourdough is proving and prepping times. Most sourdough recipes are gonna take place over a minimum of I'd say 4 hours and a maximum of 48. Like there are recipes I've tried that are full like day and a half, like leave for 12 hours, leave for 12 hours, leave for 12 hours. And then there are some recipes I've done that it's like 1 hour and done. Let's go.
That's I
Um
I say it's like high maintenance for bread, but that's for bread. Bearing in
Yeah.
mind, like when I say high maintenance, it's about as high maintenance as a house plant or keeping saltwater fish.
It's 100% the same amount of effort as keeping a house plant or some fish. And the great thing about sourdough is you can start sourdough with gluten-free flours as well. So I've got 3 or 4 gluten-free flours that I want to try. I haven't started them yet because I need to have like a couple of weeks at home where I can be like I don't have to cart stuff around with me. But I am going to be trying both a with gluten, like a dark rye sourdough, because you can make dark rye sourdoughs. And then I've also got rice flour and another buckwheat flour, both of which are gluten free. Despite the name buckwheat, it is gluten free. And you can make gluten free starters that can make gluten free bread because you're only feeding them with gluten free ingredients. They take a little longer to start, they don't behave exactly the same, but you can make them. So I'm definitely looking forward to trying those in much smaller portions. Ashia is massive at the moment. And that's because when I cook with Ashia, usually has to be in large batches because I'm cooking for large groups. So I keep Ashia pretty large. But you can keep a sourdough starter as small as like a half cup's worth because most recipes are going to require somewhere between a quarter cup and a half a cup of active starter. And if you need a full cup, what you can do is you can double feed it the day before, right? And increase the amount that you have very dramatically, like very quickly. And then you'll have it, and then whatever's left over, just feed it and put it back away, and you're good to go. It's great. Sourdough is fantastic. If you're willing to like either find a place that you trust to make good sourdough for the times when you want it, or, do it yourself, it is fantastic. What?
So the Pope died.
Yes.
I don't know
Okay.
how much.
I'm gonna say it. I don't care. We said no. Just a tiny bit after meeting JD Vance too. He really went straight to HR with that.
I found that kind of
I
funny
had
too.
to.
It was also kind of funny, like the actual timing of his death being on or like right
Right
after Easter.
right after his Easter speech specifically. So he hung on to give out the speech. You know what else he did?
Like that man held on for dear life, apparently.
Well, you know what else he did that was interesting? Um, so he also, I think, elected out of like 130 something cardinals that we currently have in the Catholic Church. He elected like 110 or 120 of them to take part in the vote for the next pope, which is, I think, unusual. I don't think it's that many normally. I think it's usually a smaller group, which is pretty interesting.
Hmm.
Also, two of the candidates that are currently like pretty high up in the running are a Filipino and an African man, which would make it the first time that we've had a an Asian or black pope. Which
Oh.
I had a bit of an off-color joke about colonialism, but I probably shouldn't repeat that on the channel. Um,
No, I can get the general gist of it just thinking about it for 2 seconds, but no,
yeah,
let's not go there.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that was unfortunate too. You know what the even funnier part is?
Hmm.
Trisha Paytas is having another baby.
What the fuck? Where'd that come from?
Oh, do you not know the Trisha Paytas thing?
No, I don't follow Trisha Paytas that closely.
So a couple days after the Queen died, Trisha Paytas had her first baby, and then I think it was just a little while after another major like religious and political figure died. She had a second baby, and now she's having a third baby, and it's the third like majorly influential person to die as she's like having a baby. Let me see what the third.
That's ridiculous.
Forget who the second one is. Um, but like people have been making a joke about it online, like reincarnation, um, as a joke.
Look, there are so many off-color jokes I can make about that. I'm gonna hold myself back.
I'm trying to think who's the second one. Who died close to the second one? That's a horrible thing to say, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Oh, yeah, there's the search. Trisha Paytas reincarnation babies. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so Queen Elizabeth II died around the same time that she gave birth to her daughter in September of 2022. Um, let's see. I want to say there was another death for that occurred around the same time as her other baby. But yeah, no, it's just it was very interesting because it's become a thing, you know? Like people are like prophesizing about like her children and then reincarnation and shit. Um, which is actually very funny.
You want to talk some shop?
Oh boy.
So streams lately. How are you? Because I know I want to check in on you every once in a while on this because I know you go back and forth. Especially, I guess you have one tomorrow. How are you feeling about your Witcher streams?
Um, I don't know. Tomorrow's either gonna have to be much shorter or I'm gonna have to postpone it. I've got a work commitment that I need to be at 11. Turns out instead of a little bit after 12. So I either have to shorten my stream or postpone it. Um, the but like the Witcher streams in general, I don't know. I feel like I like breaking through into a new chapter, kind of like broke through a barrier in terms of like productive streams because like I haven't had any unproductive Witcher streams recently, right? Like I've been doing things, completing quests like every single stream. Um, it is a little annoying, right? That my own schedule because I kind of set out to do this game on stream. My own schedule prevents me from playing it 100% regularly, which does leave me, I think, like sometimes like I'm just like, "Oh, I want to play to see what happens next," but it's I don't play it off stream. Um and I don't know. I don't know like how good the pace I'm moving through it is. Um Personally, like I probably should like do some math and check that because like I'm sure I'm moving a lot slower through it than like someone could. And I probably need to check like the projected runtime of that game against the streams I've already done and see like am I even on track based on where I am in the story to like finish this in a reasonable amount of time. Um
I'm gonna guess Witcher one probably 40 hours.
Yeah, but I think I've probably already pumped 30 something into it already. I've had like 12 or 13 streams now of it. And if they're averaging 3 hours,
You also
or
had a
if you're,
couple streams which were very meandering though, so
yeah,
and they weren't very
true.
productive streams either.
True, but I'm only currently in chapter 3 of 6. Well, 5 in the epilogue.
So I'm seeing here the original Witcher about 35 and a half hours is considered what people average around.
So I've already exceeded that. I know that for a fact, just based on the length of my streams.
It's possible the
And
later
I'm
chapters go a little quicker because you're starting to get to, like more similar to how Baldur's Gate. I'm pretty sure after chapter one, chapter three opens up again as an end game thing, but like the actual
but it's
ending,
faster.
you can get too much
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah, I am moving faster now. I think maybe give it like I don't know. I'm perfectly happy to continue playing it on stream for now because I am progressing every single stream pretty significantly at this point. I'm not stuck meandering again like I was for like 2 streams. Um
I don't
yeah, I'm
know.
not here's the thing, Dakota Doyle. I've already like skipped a couple of quests in the first couple of chapters that were unimportant, and I've locked myself out of at least one by doing a different one first that I didn't realize. So
Usually the average for like how long to beat does factor in completion of some side quests as you play casually, but not a completionist run.
Yeah. And to be honest, like I said, some of the quests I've missed already, like side quests, are things that probably could have been done in like 15 minutes if you'd known about them and just done them.
Mm-hmm. I guess just otherwise on stream, you've kind of started shifting to 2 days a week on stream. Is that a more conscious decision or just an availability thing?
Entirely availability at this point. I had like a couple months where I was getting a lot less work bookings. Like I think February and March were pretty slow for me. But this month really picked up, and then I've got a 3 week job that's gonna put me down by you next month.
A
So
lot
I
of
mean, you already
people doing
know.
stuff for the spring, probably, whereas people were probably
Yeah,
bunkering down more in the winter.
yeah. Spring, summer, fall, and like the holiday season are always the busiest, and then there's kind of a lull from like late January to like early April, um, typically. So, you know, but then again, like also, okay, I'm gonna be down in, down by you for 3 weeks, but what? Because I'm so far out, I don't do dual bookings. Like I won't be taking like separate jobs because I'm not gonna. It doesn't pay for the gas to commute. Which means in theory, I can either stream a few times at yours, um, borrow your computer and stuff, even if you're, don't want to be that involved necessarily. Or alternatively, there might be times when I can drive home and do a couple of hours, like occasionally. The other thing is I can stream some things from my laptop, but not big things. So like I couldn't run FGO off my laptop. Because I don't have like a second screen extension, and I'm not moving my screens after I just got them hooked up on the new fucking desk. It took me 30 minutes of unplugging and replugging HDMI cords until they finally activated.
You know, FGO actually might work pretty decently on your laptop. Because all you would have to transfer is your capture card, and in theory, there's a way you could output audio through your laptop. So you feed FGO's audio into your laptop, plug your headphones into your laptop, so it outputs it into your headphones, and there you go. Audio's feeding in just fine.
But
FGO's
I
on your
don't
phone. Now, is
but I
that a
don't
comfortable setup? That's up to
No.
you. But it is
No.
actually not as hard as you would think.
It's possible, but I don't know if I want to do that on my laptop.
And I feel that, especially because you've done a
Necessarily.
lot of FGO on your monitor.
Yeah, yeah. I think the benefit of the setup I have at home is that everything basically just works with just a matter of me plugging in like one or two cords here or there, or unplugging a cord here or there,
I
per
definitely
se.
don't mind giving you my computer for an evening or two, whether I'm there or not to stream from. So if you want to work something out, just let me know.
That was my thought process. I can at least make sure that I keep up on FGO, if nothing else. Might not be necessarily keeping up on anything else super regularly. Might just bring my Switch and do like, a Pokemon some other time. It does mean I'll probably be swapping to mostly evening streams for a month. Unless I can host something on my laptop, which, yeah, I could play Trade Winds
Yeah.
successfully on my laptop, very successfully. Um, so
Honestly, I'd be
you
willing
know,
to host a Pokemon stream. We were already talking about doing a stream at my place for a Sonic tour. What that looks like, I don't know yet. We're still working the kinks of that out. I think
I thought that was gonna be at my place.
it would be a lot harder at your place. I'll say that. I need
Oh,
capture cards. I need console stuff.
I have a capture card.
Yeah, I also the Wii U was in talks for being used. I'm not lugging that fucker to
Uh,
your place.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
I thought the logistics spoke for themselves.
Yeah, that's fair. We did set a date for that though.
That date came and passed, and
Did
we
it?
yeah. It's because something
I
else
thought
came up and you were busy.
I thought we discussed the third.
Are we doing the third?
Yeah, I thought I brought it up to you to swap the day we were originally doing it on for the third.
I can do
I
the third.
messaged you about it.
Oh, I can absolutely do the third. I just didn't.
I'm
I just didn't put it on my
almost
calendar.
positive. And
Look,
I
it's
messaged you about it.
we could triple check later, but that works for me.
Yeah. Like, almost positive that I messaged you about that. Um, so yeah.
While you're down here, though, if you're down here for a full ass month, I might try to fish you over for a Fire Emblem stream as well. So take you do it because that one's really easy for me to do. Much easier than Sonic. Sonic, y'all don't understand. It's either going to be 3 streams or you're going to see Nick. It's going to be like it's like all day that Saturday. Nick Knack running back and forth, plugging things in, unplugging things, switching consoles over and over again because.
Yeah. Third.
Yeah, it was going to be Sonic's going to be a mess if we do.
You know what? Actually, that works better probably for the other guest that we'll have on as well, because she's actually also going to be at a 2-week job down closer in that direction.
Yeah, just pick her up and bring her here.
Yeah, because I'll be coming from home. But yeah. Anyways, so yeah. The third is set for that, and hopefully I didn't accidentally make plans with CC on the 3rd.
That'd suck.
Well, because the Apple Hill weekends are starting. Did I tell you about that?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, they announced the first weekend, so I will be going up at least twice the first weekend, and potentially once the second weekend. You're welcome to join.
We'll see if I'm available. I've got a pretty busy May weekend schedule, unfortunately.
Well, May's a busy month for both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of have our birthdays right in that month.
Vorn's also graduating.
Yeah. He didn't invite us.
I already asked him if he wanted to do anything, so he'll let me know.
The fucker didn't invite us. I'm kidding.
He's got family coming up from out of town.
No, I actually told him because he like preemptively came up to me like, hey, I'm sorry I couldn't. I know, no, you have family, you have people in your life. Invite them. Fuck me.
Yeah, it's not like me where I had free tickets to invite you.
Yeah, no, your family doesn't like you, Claire. I'm kidding. No, your family. A lot of your family's pretty spread out, so
yeah,
not all of them can make it up.
Relatively nuclear family setup.
Yeah, like I didn't invite you to mine because my family's pretty densely crowded
massive,
around where I'm at.
Yeah, no. Also, no offense, but you had a shitty graduation. I'm so sorry.
Every other college in our area moved back to in-person commencements. Not mine.
COVID graduation.
I had a drive-through commencement. A literal drive-through where a bunch of professors I don't recognize waved like car wash signs that said congratulations on it. I don't know who the fuck they were.
Yeah, you had a COVID graduation. I feel bad.
It wasn't even like COVID was at its height anymore.
Meanwhile, I was over here praying for our local basketball team to lose. Literally was out here like lighting candles, like everything. I was like, they need to lose because if they won like a certain amount of games and went to the playoffs, my graduation was going to be 7 in the goddamn morning on a Sunday. And if they lost, it was going to be 7 in the evening on a Saturday. Well, 4 in the evening on a Saturday.
And they did lose, you motherfucker, and they haven't recovered since.
Yes.
The team's been shit since that point. Fuck you.
TR Urgent says, what Fire Emblem games?
Game? Right now, the plan was to do 3 Fire Emblem games, because I can't really do the 3DS ones on my current setup. Not without, like, fucking around with emulators a lot. It was going to be the original one, like the very first Fire Emblem game, because they released that in English finally, and that's easy enough for me to... I actually got it when it was on sale for a limited time. Or when it was up for a limited amount of time. So I can actually show Seki that. I'm probably also going to show her Fire Emblem 7, or just Fire Emblem in the West, because that's the first one we got in the States. And unfortunately, I would love to show her one from the 3DS era, but the 3DS era is just not accessible on modern platforms. So we're going to be switching straight up to the Switch era, where I plan to actually let her play 3 Houses. I'll probably do, like, show her the first 2 more than I have her play them, because I don't plan to spend too much time on them. It's because I think Seki is going to be fucking horrified, especially with that first one, for how old that game is.
Fair. Dakota Doyle, I was aware of that, and the thing is, even here in the US, like, I'm gonna be honest, there's not a whole lot of rules about, at least at our university, what you can and can't wear under the robes, right? Like under your graduation gown. Your graduation gown has to be worn properly. I will say that. Like I remember one of the guys behind me that I was graduating with, he got pulled out of line on the way up the stage and told that he had to zip up his gown all the way. He couldn't just be in like a t-shirt and jeans with his gown open. But what's under your graduation gown is kind of up to you. I mean, within limits. Like, obviously, you can't. I don't think you could be wearing like a furry suit or something. They'd stop you. But like, beyond that, it's pretty open.
So sacred.
Ironically, our high school graduation was stricter than college when it came to like what you could wear, because they even monitored our clothing underneath the gowns at our high school graduation.
So Sacred Stones and Engage, I do hear that one, and actually, they're not off the table. This isn't like I'm snuffing them all together. It's just going to depend on how much time we have, because I have both games. I've got Sacred Stones is just got added, so that made, and after I was already kind of making these, like setting these plans up or making these plans for what this would look like. And Engage is easy enough to do. I just don't know how much spotlight we're giving them, or if we're going to have time to give them any spotlight. So that's just going to depend on what day of the week we do it on, how much time Seki has that evening.
Fair. Do you want to see? Do you want to see a cat resting like she just worked a 12-hour shift in the mines?
Go ahead.
Look at this bitch. She is sleeping like she worked a full day in the mines.
Hey, Seki. Nadia has a question for you.
Yeah, Nady, I once had a D&D game catastrophically catapult itself to death through TPK because one of my players tried to create a furry character and then sent non-consensual furry porn into chat for 6 months, and then proceeded to continue sending me that outside of the game chat, even after I'd ended it, until I blocked them on Discord. Yeah, there's history behind that. I have nothing against the furry community in general, but, keep it where people are okay seeing it, and if like people express being uncomfortable about dealing with that, especially in an R-rated scenario, keep it away. Keep it the fuck away.
Look, all I'm saying is you're the one that asked to do the Sonic tour, not me.
Tour is fine. Weird, gents. It
Look,
shouldn't be.
if I was gonna, Dakota, I see you with the grinding off screen on Sacred Stones. If I was gonna have her actually play through Sacred Stones to completion, or play through a Fire Emblem game to completion, Sacred Stones would have been one of the ones I'd push for. But I'm probably not pushing her to play that one to completion unless she's interested. Really, I'm mostly showing her what Fire Emblem games looked like right now. With
Weird.
That's why I'm probably not having her play at least the original Fire Emblem game. She's not going to be made to play that one. FE7, maybe I'll have her play a few chapters of that, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm not actually pushing for her to play and actually get into FE7 or Sacred Stones. Three Houses, I'm kind of hoping clicks with her a bit, because I feel like she would really like Three Houses.
It's not as if I've never dealt with Sonic either, right? Like, stepping away from Fire Emblem, but going to Sonic. Like, I played a Sonic fan game, I think, a couple times when I was, like, very, very young. And the thing is, like, I know what Sonic is. I played Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games on DS, right? Like, I know what Sonic is. In fact, one of my friends is having a Sonic-themed birthday party this year, and she's having us all either sort of Disney-bound or, like, cosplay as various Sonic characters. I got permission to be Professor Victoria. That's the new archaeologist introduced. So I need to find a template for an A-line dress that I can modify to make myself a Professor Victoria dress.
Look,
that is accurate to the 4 images that we have of her.
No, Dakota Dill. I would show her one of the SNES games like Thracia or Genealogy, but they're just not accessible, especially in the West. Fucking Nintendo.
Yeah, also, Jeds, I have no clue why it's... I mean, I have it in live chat, so... I have no clue why it's filtering stuff out.
Look, only thing I'm promising FE-wise are those 3 main games. Everything else, time, and whether or not I feel like we'll get anything out of it.
Yeah. Oh, I see the message. It's way up ahead. Okay, I didn't see it when it
Yeah,
came
I
up.
opened up my phone chat so I could start giving people permissions. Sometimes when Tacos is in chat, he's able to clear that for you guys, um,
Yeah.
he is not a full time moderator. He is a when he shows up, y'all should thank him sometimes. Let's see.
Yeah, no, I just yeah, so I am slowly by process of osmosis, mostly between my other friend because she hasn't given up yet, being or having Sonic kind of beaten into my everyday, you know? Because she really likes Sonic, and one of the things is like for like she really likes Shadow, right? And like one of the things is that she tracks like plushies online, like collectible plushies and stuff, and she's got this huge collection of like Sonic and Sonic adjacent plushies. But very often she'll send like screen caps to chat of like eBay listings of like these like Japanese vintage Sonic plushies that are like $4,000, and she's like, eBay really wants me to buy this, and I'm like, no, don't. It's not worth it.
Look, I'm glad she's the one doing it because like I've been fighting my battle with Fate in a few like video game franchises. Fuck if I'm gonna be fighting that battle for Sonic. I'm a pretty big Sonic fan actually. I've been a Sonic fan since I was a kid. But fuck if I'm gonna be fighting that battle.
Sonic. Yeah, you can't take on all the hills to die on, Knick-Knack.
No.
You would die before you succeeded.
Look, I haven't even.
Sleeping there, and your fur is everywhere.
I am part of a lot of obnoxious recruiter fandoms where you just have like people trying to recruit you into the fandom incessantly. Like I pick and choose my battles, even though I internally I'm like, oh, I could have her try this thing. I want her to play fucking Xenoblade over there, but like I know what battles I'm gonna win and lose, and I have to be strategic at my time and place.
You are also aware that like with more experience and more kind of games that I choose to play under my belt, with every game I become more and more open to different types of games that I didn't think I would like. Like for example, Atelier Marie was not something that like hit up most of my modern checklist of like things I like in games, right? Like Witcher was supposed to, but then at the beginning it was way too open. Like there was just too much I could do and not enough guidance, you know?
Look,
Or like Repo. Nobody expected me to actually start enjoying Repo. But at this point, I've played enough Repo with enough people that it's actually a really fun co-op game.
look, I'm counting the days till you play Ryza, and I can start putting you down the JRPG rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's your best chance. Once if I like Ryza, that is a JRPG, and you will have an in with me where I'll go, huh? Well, I liked Ryza, so what? Oh. Repo is becoming infamous on this. Repo and trade winds are becoming white whales.
Look, Repo was fun for the 30 minutes I felt good playing it.
And then you got horrifically motion sick.
Yeah. So I'm gonna if you want to talk about Repo for a bit, I'm gonna go ahead and leave you to it. I need to go to the restroom. On theme for
Okay.
Repo.
Yeah. So, uh, were you there for the Repo stream, Frostshard? I don't remember. I don't remember jack shit about the Repo. I'm gonna be honest. It's kind of like a fever dream, but like this last Saturday night, I got together a group for Repo. It was like Knick-Knack, Realm, me, and Winterwolf, right? And we played Repo in the evening. And Repo is not the sort of game that like I ever thought I'd be into, because it's like it's cooperative, like up to 8 people, but it's kind of like one of those like, oh yeah, that's right, Frostshard, you were definitely there. But it's kind of one of those games that's like supposed to be scary, but I'm gonna be honest, the more you play it, the less scary it gets. And the more tired you get, the less scary it gets. Um, But yeah, you're just like collecting stuff with like monsters after you randomly. So just a cute little game. You play as these weird little like robot alien things. But it's yeah, I think Nick Nack was having trouble with the fact that like the cam is very like, you know, when you're like moving around and doing stuff. So it's not the easiest to play, and that's why he got so sick on it. But I've got a couple friends who really love playing it, so they'll play it like all night. And the thing about Repo is that like a game can last anywhere from like 15 minutes to like 8 hours, right? Because the way that Repo works is that you start at level 1 and you play your way up until you die, and then you start again. So like we were like, "Hey, you know, it was like 11 p.m., right? And I was like, "Hey, this is our last game for the night," right? We were starting at level 1 after having died. And then it kept going till like 3 in the morning. Because we didn't die. And at one point, I tried to die. At one point, I did die deliberately. Like, actively trying to die, because the only way to end the game is for everyone to die. Because you just revive your fallen comrades if you're still alive, and you still have that opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, I just couldn't with Repo.
Repo is super fun. I would love to get like a really large game together on the channel, like 8 people using only proximity chat. That would be so much fun, I think.
Look, I would be willing to join that with the knowledge that I would be like literally sitting on the truck after a while, going, "Uh."
You did all anyways till we ended that round.
Well, no, well for the final round I played, yeah, like
Yeah.
at the very, I think I at least made it to like the last what is it called? I forget what it's called. The last extraction point, and then I was like, nope,
Oh
nope,
yeah.
nope, nope, nope. I'm done.
Yeah, Nady, that is in fact the problem. The problem is that you cannot lose it when you want to. Like literally there was a point where like I think Frostshard clipped it in the Discord, but I was like under a table and the thing should have hit me for all intents and purposes, but it just sat there like like going at me, and because of the angle I was at, it couldn't get me, but I couldn't move without dying, and it was fixed on me, so it was not gonna move. And so I was just sitting under the table as this thing's like going. I'm like, it can't be scary after the third time it does it, you know? It's not possible.
I've got the stream chat talking about Thracia.
You do. They are really going back and forth on it. Yeah, Realm genuinely like Winter and I were dead. It was like the last round, and Realm was trying to like we hit the point where like we didn't even have enough like items left to like win. We'd have to like farm monsters, but we couldn't even do that properly. My God. You know what the funny part was? After I logged off, I think Winter kept playing for a little while longer.
Just on her own, or did Realm stick around?
I don't know if Realm stuck around, but I think she ended up playing with her partner. Yeah. So, you know, it was just one of those things. But yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why why I'm really considering getting Helldivers 2 right now, because I'm like, well, the first co-op game that I really got to play that was like, you know, really co-op wasn't so bad. Maybe I could like try some more, you know? Helldivers 2, like if I've got a friend who's willing to play it with me, seems like a good place to like dive in and try something, you know? I've never played a game like Helldivers. Like never. That's the type of game that I have never tried before. Because I don't play those type of games, so.
Fairness, I don't think I've ever been a big player of like major cooperative games either.
Yeah, no. I'm not even that attentive to my regular Baldur's Gate multiplayers, because I have like 3 actively going right now, and I probably play them like once a month. You know, because it's just finding time with other people. And like Baldur's Gate's something that like you really want to sit down for longer so you can actually get some stuff done. Unfortunately, all 3 of my current multiplayers are still technically in Act 1. I'm just counting the sessions until we can get to Act 2, because honestly, I being in Act 1 at this point, I'm so fucking done with it. Like, I'm so done with being in Act 1. I never want to be in Act 1 again, but you can't just start the game from Act 2, which is annoying. It's annoying as hell.
I mean, that's
Ugh.
just a long form game. You start.
I know. I get it. It's just one of those things where, like, if you start so many characters, you spend a lot of time in the very beginning stages, and it just makes you
What's
really tired.
That's part of the reason why I get such bad choice fatigue, because I know myself. I know I'm gonna want to see a lot of cool shit, and I'm gonna want to see some of this stuff that you can get locked out of. But I'm not ever going to bring myself to do a second like 80-hour playthrough. At least not within the time within that same time. It'd have to be like a miracle for me to come back, which I do every once in a while.
See, I have a solution for that, and one that I've shared recently with Bakage, because Bakage finally got the game, and we started a crossplayer, but he's also been playing on his own, and he asks me, so he's like, should I move on from here? Is there more to do? There's a website I really like that has checklists for all three of the acts. And after like my first playthrough, through each of the acts, I just use the checklists now to like
See,
what should I do? Like, and the thing is, I know what all of these things are, but sometimes the checklist reminds me of things that, like, I forgot, or I read something in the checklist and I'm like, well, I really don't need that this time around. Like, let me just skip that.
and I know those are a thing, and I've used them for some games. I've tried to. The problem is I get really caught up in keeping up with those lists, and sometimes it just becomes like, wait a minute, I can't even play this game casually anymore. If I'm playing this, I need to be dedicating like 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday to do it, and that just means I stall out on the game. And usually, at a certain point, I pick up another game because it just catches my interest more after that.
Yeah. I think I don't mind the checklist so much because at least with Baldur's Gate, I do have a bunch of different playthroughs going. And sometimes I want to make sure that I'm getting certain pieces of equipment or I'm like checking off certain pieces of dialogue. And the thing is, I kind of refer, like, for me, it's not like pop open the checklist and then go through one by one, right? It's do what I want to do, and then if I want to keep playing, go look at the checklist. What's near here that I could do easily? Or if I don't want to keep playing, log off. Like, I'm done for the day. You know? Kind of like very non-committally. I'm almost looking at it like a prompt generator to a certain point where it's like, I get to Act 3 and I see the checklist, I'm like, well, I could go do Cazadors, or I could go get Minsk. Minsk is going to be longer, but Cazadors is going to be harder. You know? Oh, they're really still going off about.
Look, Fire Emblem fans love them some Fire Emblem. You don't understand. That fan base subsisted off of itself for like, at least in the West, for a good while. Like, they had nothing being fed from them as a franchise, and they were making their own games. Like, they were a pretty active fan game community. So, like, when Fire Emblem fans have opinions on games, they got opinions on games.
Fair. Frostshard, sometimes I make my own checklist. I remember after the first time I played through Act 3, I made myself an in-order checklist of, like, what order in the future I should do a bunch of the major quests, because I was like, I did them in this order, and I really wish that I had done them a different way around. Like, I wish that I'd picked up this character earlier, and that I'd gone and done this before this other thing, because it would have made this other thing easier. So, I get it. What?
I'm sorry for ruining our chat.
Hey. Chat's being chat, you know?
At least I know there's interest in the Fire Emblem tour eventually.
I'm eating Easter bunny, so it's fine.
I can't. It just ended my eating hours for intermittent fasting.
Oh, delicious chocolate.
So, you're so lost. It's hilarious.
I've never played it.
Yeah, I know.
Ironically, out of all the things that you've wanted to introduce me to, Fire Emblem is like the thing that I know nothing about, right? I know about Sonic a little. Like, I know about Final Fantasy. I knew about Final Fantasy before you showed it to me. I knew a little bit about Castlevania. I know nothing about Fire Emblem.
And that's fair. It's not as big or not as like Castlevania you knew from the anime mostly, or the cartoon. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the others are like really huge franchises. Fire Emblem is not as big. It's getting bigger, but it's not that big yet. But it's very history. Now I've been a fan for a while, and there's a I'm the reason why I want you to try it so much is the same reason because I it's like the opposite of why I like D&D. Because you'll notice with D&D when we started playing, I very quickly adapted to the grid combat and like strategizing around that. That was because it reminded me so much of playing Fire Emblem. That's so I'm kind of trying to see if that reverse kind of effect happens with you, where you might sort of click with the game more because you're familiar with D&D and Baldur's Gate, which have that same over the head like grid based turn based tactics.
Um, Nady, I feel your pain. Brushart, I did in fact mention Castlevania. Fun fact, I recently started rewatching Castlevania from episode 1.
The new Star Wars announcements, I'm fucking hyped about the Ninth Jedi adaptation.
Wait, did you
Or
did you see the video I sent you earlier today
what did you send me earlier today?
in our messenger chat that was about Star Wars?
I don't
It's
know
the
that I
second
did.
video
Let me take a look.
that I
I
sent
didn't.
you.
I don't think I watched it, but also today was a clusterfuck for me before this stream.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. You want to summarize it for me?
I can't. There's no way for me to summarize that accurately.
Okay, I'll leave it for later then.
Um,
Sorry though.
I was gonna say it's not gonna get you like a copyright claim or anything. Um, but yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm so excited at the Ninth Jedi being given a full series. Other than that, like the other Star Wars announcements, look, with Star Wars, unfortunately, right now, if it's not actually showing a trailer and it's done by Lucasfilm, it's not that I have no confidence that they'll make it good because like Andor is pretty damn good actually. Skeleton Crew is pretty damn good. Right now, the problem is I have no confidence it's gonna fucking release. Um, like, fuck. How we haven't had movies in a like what? I think we're probably approaching like a full last decade. Like since it's not a decade. It's not an insubstantial amount of time though since Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, COVID
Yeah.
came and left after Rise of Skywalker came
Let me
out.
check.
And we've had nothing as far as new movies come.
2019. I timed it perfectly.
Multiple films announced, multiple films canceled. A lot of things that like they announced and it went fully quiet on. Unless I see a trailer, I just don't think it exists. Right now, the only live action Star Wars product I think exists is The Mandalorian and Grogu. Because we have a trailer for it now. Everything else, I'm like, that's a cool concept. We'll see if it actually happens.
So Ninth Jedi, is that an expansion on an animated?
So it's Star Wars Visions. Star Wars Visions is
Yeah.
the anthology series, or like the Animatrix.
Okay. So I think, if I might be wrong, but I've never seen Visions, I think the video I sent you might be related to that, just with a totally different audio laid over the top of it.
Probably. But like the Ninth
Yeah.
Jedi was like the most popular from one of that series' anthologies. And it was like so popular at the time that there were a lot of like the people that watched it were like, Jesus Christ, this probably should have been the future of Star Wars, not quite what we got with the sequel trilogy. Something more in the lines of this. Because Visions is great because it's like fully fresh takes on Star Wars, not bound by Disney's sort of like, oh, we need to appease this group of fans, or we need to make the most possible money by bringing back these actors. And because it's a singular creative vision, or it's a more personal creative vision, less bound by canon, it allows Visions to have some rather fun takes on Star Wars. That if it's bad, it's bad. We don't have to come back to it. But if it's good, it's like that reminds me of why I like Star Wars. Ninth Jedi was one of the ones that was just really, really good, and it got announced for a full series and a sequel episode. So I'm gonna be quite honest. Like I have season 1 of Visions in the hat, After that, I might like try to push us to watch the ninth Jedi full series if it's good. If it's good.
I mean, Visions is in the hat.
Yeah, Vision season 1 is in the hat. I'm gonna have us watch that entire thing. I don't know so much about season 2 because season 2 is not strictly anime, and season 3 is back to anime. But I would kind of want to hyper focus on Ninth Jedi if that's getting a full series, because that gives me an outlet for Star Wars on the channel at some point, as opposed to like hackneying a reason why we should watch the fucking Clone Wars. The
Appreciate Dakota Doyle's insistence on keeping the Fire Emblem discussion going. Because we've transitioned from one thing I don't know to another thing that I don't care about anymore.
Look, season 2 is fine. It's just not as directly anime, and Ninth Jedi is just that good. If the series is as good as the one shot was, I'm hyped. The Duel was also really good. That's the one we went to a Barnes and Nobles and I was looking at that book. If I don't remember if you remember that or not. There was a book that they released as a prequel to the Duel, which is another one of the Visions episodes that was really good.
You know, we go to Barnes and Nobles a lot.
I know.
I look at a lot of books.
Let's say this: the Duel is a take on Star Wars that goes very Kurosawa samurai film.
Love me a good Akira Kurosawa film.
So, yeah. Honestly, I think you would probably like Visions if we watched it. And the reason why I think you would like Visions is just because you're not a hardcore Star Wars fan by any means.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if I show you the fucking Mandalorian or the Clone Wars, there's a lot where you'll be like, okay. With Visions, it's like bite-sized Star Wars, like, oh, this is Star Wars to this person. This is Star Wars to this person. And I feel like that might click with you better as someone who's not as attached to Star Wars as a franchise and as a canon.
Yeah. I got a noodle.
I see that.
He is covered in dirt. Look at how dirty his paws are. It's white normally. Buddy, did you roll in the dirt? I think we did. I think we rolled in the dirt. Buddy didn't come in last night. He refused to when I called him. That he spent last night outside. And then I know for a fact he went back outside early this morning after he came in. So nope. I have not. Zahura, I've not seen any of the Clone Wars stuff. Let me put it this way. Out of all the Star Wars media that exists, I have seen movies 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, tentatively at a point in my life that I cannot remember, but have been assured that it did happen. 1, 2, and 3. Solo and Rogue One. And I think that might be all I've seen from Star Wars. Like, genuinely. I think that's all Oh, you showed me the Christmas special.
Did I? I don't feel like I showed you the... I couldn't have. Because I only ever watched the Christmas special on... I might have shown you like a clip from the Christmas special just to show you how weird it was.
I saw a clip from it.
Yeah. But I would never make you sit through that entire thing. That thing has some funny clips. Boring as sin to sit through. I torture myself on Christmas Eve some years doing that just because I hate myself.
Yeah, so, like, in terms of the animated series, I've not seen any of Clone Wars at all. Like, none of it. And then, what was the one that was coming out on Disney XD?
Rebels.
I think I saw, like, 2 episodes of Rebels when it started coming out, because I thought it was interesting. And then I ended up just never watching another episode. And I didn't see Visions, and I haven't seen any of the current Disney Plus shows. Even though I've been assured that I probably would like a few of them, I've not seen them. I'm like, for me, I'm at the same point with Star Wars, quite honestly, that I am with Marvel. Where I'm just like, I no longer care, and I don't have the energy to put into anything new unless someone is there to sit down with me so I can laugh at it and make fun of it while I'm watching. Yeah. Also, I think I used to really love 4, 5, and 6. I think I fell victim to the fact that as a child, I watched 4, 5, and 6 so many times that I kind of got sick of them. Like, it's one of the few movies I've ever gotten sick of watching repeatedly. And then 7, 8, and 9 were just not. No. I loved Rogue One. Absolutely adored it.
Look, you have the opinion on Star Wars that a lot of Star Wars fans have, where 4, 5, and 6 are great, 7, 8, 9 suck, and then 1, 2, and 3 is pretty variable. That's pretty standard amongst Star Wars fans these days. And then Rogue One, a lot of people like.
Yeah. I did not like Solo, specifically. Neither my mother nor I did, and we are big Han Solo fans. So.
No, you're not. You're
Neither
big Harrison fucking Ford fans.
It's the same thing.
No, it's not. Obviously
It's
not.
the same thing. It's the same thing.
No, evidently not.
Same thing.
You ever read a Han Solo book?
Actually, yes.
I forgot you have that fucking library.
I do have those books. And one time I remember I was trapped in a cabin with no internet and no power in Canada for 3 weeks. And all we had were Star Trek and Star Wars novels.
Okay, but like, let me put it this way. Your reasoning for not liking Solo is not because you think they did any kind of disservice to the Han Solo character. Rather, you feel like the actor didn't. You don't like the actor that portrayed him and how he chose to portray him.
Yeah, I didn't like how they portrayed young Solo.
Yeah.
I was not a fan. Tacos. Obviously, the third Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah, you're. Look, let's not sugarcoat it. You're a Harrison Ford fan.
I'm a Harrison Ford fan.
You almost went and watched Captain America for no other reason than Harrison Ford was in it.
I'm still willing to watch Captain America for Harrison Ford.
You just kind of missed it for timing issues.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. Ironically, out of all of the cast for 4, 5, and 6, the cast member I probably like best is Chewbacca. And that's just because my mom said that I used to resemble Chewbacca in the mornings when I woke up.
Seki.
In both.
That's not a cast member. That's
yeah, I know.
That's a character. Can you even name the cast member that played Chewbacca?
No.
Exactly.
No.
Fucking exactly.
Did they pass away though?
Possibly. But that's the thing. He's a guy in a suit.
They passed away a couple years ago.
They could have replaced him, and we would never know, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Not you.
Yeah, I do actually. I own a bunch of the Star Wars books because my dad bought them, as well as pretty much all of the original Star Trek volumes. I have like the entire 80 set book series from like the original Star Trek book run, and then a bunch of other Star Trek volumes. So like I've read assorted Star Wars and Star Trek. Never really a huge fan. Sci-fi is not typically my jam. It's a lot harder for me to get into sci-fi. And I've found the sci-fi I do read airs a little bit more on the horror spectrum of sci-fi rather than like truly sci-fi. Which is ironic because I'm not a huge horror fan either. So you know. Yeah. Unfortunately, movies 1, 2, and 3, I know I've seen them, I just don't remember them.
Movies 1, 2, and 3 are complicated because on a very technical level, they're kind of rough because they were directed like George Lucas, great like storyteller, great world builder, horrible director. Like episode 4 was the only one in the original trilogy he directed, I'm pretty sure, and famously that one was saved in the edit. 5 wasn't directed by him, 6 wasn't directed by him. All he did was create sort of the strokes of the story and oversee it. 1, 2, and 3 were fully in his creative control and in directing. And there's a reason why people don't like or remember 1, 2, and 3, like, who are fans of the originals. And that's because 1, 2, and 3, the acting was stilted. The politics wasn't portrayed very, in a way that was very engaging. It was pretty accurate to watching C-SPAN in the morning. But when you go back and actually run through the 1, 2, and 3 with a fine-tooth comb, it's got really well done character arcs. It's got really well done, like, when you actually break down what the politics are saying and doing, it's fucking fascinating how, like, how well done it was. And like the stuff that's expanded on it since then has been really, really good. But the movies are kind of hard to watch if you didn't grow up with them because the acting and the directing just isn't great. But there's other things that are great about them too, like the prequels are kind of responsible for like modern CG.
So chat is saying sand scene sand.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and it's rough and it gets everywhere too. Not
Also,
like you.
tacos, absolutely not. When I say that I lean more on the side of horror in sci-fi, that is exclusive to books, and apparently Repo. It is not something that translates to movies. I'm not an alien person.
I will say
Um,
Star Wars is not necessarily a great example of sci-fi because there's debate on whether Star Wars outside of its setting is sci-fi at all because it doesn't really keep with science fiction writing conventions. It's largely writing wise considered a space opera fantasy. Like it's got
but I
more in common with fantasy story
yeah,
tropes than sci-fi tropes.
but I'm also not a huge fan of Star Trek. I've found
Yeah.
some Star Treks interesting, like individual episodes, but on the whole, Star Trek was never really my scene. And then I've read other science fiction books that are like purely sci-fi, like not Star Trek, not Star Wars, but like other famous and not so famous sci-fi books. And in general, I tend to fall along the lines of things like Annihilation more than I do something a little closer to Star Trek.
I think
And Annihilation is pretty. You've got kind of this like kind of almost a Lovecraftian horror esque bit to it that kind of makes it for me personally. Uh, and it also helps with the way the story is told because I've said it again and I'll say it. I've said before. I'll say it again. Annihilation is written from the perspective of journal entries written down by an anthropologist on a team of explorers. Um,
I do
and it's fascinating.
I do have to wonder if your problems with sci-fi aren't necessarily with the story tropes and sort of the genre itself. Because you, if I'm not wrong, you also fuck with Asimov a little, right?
I love Isaac
Yeah,
Asimov. I think the problem I've always had with sci-fi is when sci-fi authors feel the need to scientifically justify their stories. And the thing is, I'm not obviously I don't have a science degree, right? I'm not a science or a math person. But if you as an author feel the need to like overly justify the science of your kind of like science fiction and you get something wrong, that's not something I can overlook, right? Like if you say something that makes no sense whatsoever, like in a fantasy novel, you say something funky, it's fantasy. Okay, in a sci-fi novel, you say something funny that like does not work, that's gonna sit in the back of my head, percolating and making it worse and worse for me the longer I have to read it. The longer I have to read it. And not in a good way. Hellspark fell victim to that. I read Hellspark in like fifth grade, right? For like a class reading project. And I hated Hellspark. I think it's awful. It was truly one of the worst books I've ever read in my life. Yes, exactly, Frostshart, like non-Euclidean geometry, but that works in Lovecraft because he was a
well, yeah, and that's part of like the sci-fi writing tropes. But I do have to wonder if um, that doesn't tend to come from all sci-fi because sci-fi is actually a pretty broad genre. It's not just space opera in space stuff. Like Asimov doesn't necessarily write a lot of space.
I mean, it depends. You've got Foundation, the Foundation trilogy,
Yeah,
but then you have stuff like, well, I mean, Nightfall and I, Robot. And the thing with there's a bug in my office. The thing is, I adore Nightfall, right? I love Nightfall so much as a story. I've read both the short story and the novel version. I've never seen the movie that was produced based on it, but I adore Nightfall. Like truly, I'm okay with iRobot. It's not my favorite of his works. That's definitely Nightfall. But I've also read the Foundations trilogy, and I love the Foundations trilogy.
But I think
Um,
when you handle space, there's a lot more about that
and
setting that begs the question, which sort of forces you into that sci-fi. Because I don't think I've heard a similar rant about what would be sort of fantasy's equivalent of if you go from a soft magic system to a hard magic system. I don't necessarily hear that rant from you as often. Now I'm sure you can
because
fuck up a hard
fantasy,
magic system, but it's still sort of the
yeah,
same concept where you're feeling the need to explain every bit of thing that it tries to do.
yeah,
But
like it's definitely one of those things like with the magic systems, right? Where it's like different worlds, different magic systems. I don't really care that much. Magic is magic, right? Magic is not science necessarily, and I don't like. I realize that a lot of people equate them as like the systems of power in different genres, but I don't equate magic to science per se. Um, like
but
in any situation. I don't even care if your series has both magic and science and is still sci-fi. I don't care. And like the thing is, from series to series, you've got a hard magic system, you've got a soft magic system. So long as it works, I don't care that much. I mean, Harry Potter gets a little funky, for example, when you really dig into the mechanics of magic, right? Because like certain aspects of Harry Potter, you're like, oh, this is a very structured sort of thing, and then there's other things where you're like, oh, this is not structured at all. Like we've completely gone off plot.
and that might not
Um,
necessarily it might not necessarily be that that doesn't bother you, but it's not as in your face because I think space as a setting begs the question a lot more than a hard magic system in a fantasy world does. There's a lot more you can do to just ignore it in a fantasy world. Whereas, for example, Star Wars is probably this like moves as far away from that sort of trope of having to over-explain things as you can. The Force, ooh, mystical, and like the one few times they've tried, it's kind of fucked up.
the Force is magic.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, the Force is just
Yeah.
magic.
The Force works because it's magic. I'm gonna have to go get a new ice pack in a second.
Yeah,
I'm
just
gonna let my foot go with. No, you're good for now. I'm gonna give myself a couple minutes and then I'll go get one.
but like let me use an example here from the sequel trilogy where like no the space setting can fuck with your ability to just hand wave away what would otherwise be a cool moment with magic when Princess Leia just starts flying through space and you're like wait how the fuck did she breathe in space, how are those bombs falling when there's no gravity, and suddenly you're like oh shit, this is a setting that's not necessarily as cohesive as our world. You can't just fill in the blanks as easily. If you don't explain it, the audience is going to be lost. Space begs the question a lot more than our world does.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm actually okay if an author chooses not to explain all the intricacies and particularities in their sci-fi world, right? I don't think necessarily that it's a requirement of an author writing a sci-fi to do that, right? It's not a requirement of an author writing in hang on, in almost any other genre. So I think it's a bit hypocritical to say, oh, if you're writing in sci-fi, you have to spend all this time sort of like justifying and explaining, because I think that kind of ruins it. It turns your book into like less of a story that you're trying to tell and more of like a D&D manual, right? Or like a world manual. And the thing is, I fuck with world manuals. I love a good world manual. Publish it separately, right? Make me a big book with pretty illustrations that tells me all about the world and how you see it, but write your story, right?
The problem is, though, when you have space, you literally have to be filling in. You do have to fill in the blanks that the audience wouldn't necessarily like. Otherwise,
To
like things start looking a lot more like ass pulls, which
I mean, to
oftentimes
a
they are
point.
ass pulls.
To a point, but like I would raise you, and this is going to be a real interesting thing to raise you. The first book of Dune. The first book of Dune does not spend 90% of the book explaining what's happening. It tells the story. The later books get into a ton of explanation, right? And like, granted, I don't like the later books of Dune. Um,
First book of Dune
what?
is largely on Arrakis, a
Yeah,
sand planet, and the stuff they do have to explain, they do have to explain, like
yeah,
the
but they
fact that
don't.
they have to wear masks and how the like the suits
Yeah,
work. But because they're actually on a pretty recognized like this is a sand planet, it's hot. There's still a lot you could fill in. When you're like in Star Trek and you're traveling through space and you have to like you have your spaceships, there's a lot more questions that just get raised by the very nature of how are you traveling 50 billion light years with your engine? Well, answering one question begs another,
different.
begs another.
Yeah, but
That's
Star Trek is different because the whole point of Star Trek is that you've established in the first episode, the first movie, the first part of Star Trek that Humanity has achieved manageable interstellar travel that does not fuck with lifespans and stuff. And that is the premise that you start the series on. They don't have to tell me how those warp drives works, because the premise that you're starting the series on is we have achieved this thing already, right? Now we're just going to use it and travel through the cosmos. Star Trek is, for all intents and purposes, Stargate, in my opinion, right? I don't need to be told how the Stargates work. I don't need to be told what makes them work, right? Aliens dropped them on our planet 15,000 years ago. I don't care. They work, they were found, people use them. The
Sorry.
Galaxy was great. Like the
Oh, I
first
love
Guardians
Guardians
of
of
the
the
Galaxy.
Galaxy.
Yeah. Fantastic. Beautiful.
Look,
Thor
I'm
Ragnarok? Fantastic. Yeah, Ragnarok. Okay. I was like, I'm not saying Love and Thunder, right? No, Ragnarok. Ragnarok was fantastic.
I'll say this, I'm putting up these defenses as to why sci-fi has that problem of for that, like, that just doesn't jive with you as a reader, with the having to explain the mechanical aspects. I'm not a big sci-fi fan myself for very similar reasons. So like when I see Guardians of the Galaxy brought up as a good counter example where it doesn't feel the need to explain itself, I genuinely do agree. Like, I personally find that a story that doesn't need to explain itself as much a lot more entertaining to read. But at the same time, I kind of understand A, what the niche is, like why that niche exists, and B, like why this is a such a prevalent thing in the genre.
Get it? I just don't enjoy it.
That's fair. No one's saying you have to enjoy sci-fi. I've watched, I can count on one hand how many of the Star Trek movies or even series I've seen. Next Generation, remake, Into Darkness. That's literally all I've seen of Star Trek.
Because the other thing is that, like, at least me personally, right? Like, obviously, I've read like a couple sci-fi things on and off as a kid, right? But like, when I was in college with one of my favorite professors, I took a history of sci-fi literature class, right? And that meant that we started like way back with like Journey to the Center of the Earth, right? And then worked our way through to like stuff that had been published very recently, like Annihilation or Michael Faber's Under the Skin, right? And we hit a lot of like the really famous stuff over the decades, right? Like we talked about, was it the Martian Chronicles? I've got, let's see, Dune, Starship Troopers, um something Clive Barker. I can see the other two books. I can't read the names because they're stacked up there. We read some Asimov. So we kind of hit like we watched some Star Trek at the time. And we watched what's that other series where they're like two people on Earth investigating weird funky things. Um oh, it's
X
super
Files.
popular. Yes. Yeah, we watched some X-Files. And then obviously I've seen Stargate, right? Um and yeah, Zero Herrera. Stargate and Star Trek, I think, and also X-Files to an extent, sit in that place for me where it's like it's more of just an adventure story with a different flavor of background, right? Like the plot of like either of the two of them could be interspersed into anything else with a different background, and it wouldn't really be a huge problem. Um, so it's, you know, I've read a lot of historic and landmark sci-fi things. Ursula Le Guin is up there. I know for a fact that's one of the books that's up there that I can't see the name of because it's not turned in the right direction. So I've read like a lot of really famous sci-fi works, and the thing is, I just don't like most of them. I have a higher percentage on disliking sci-fi than I do on like disliking fantasy, but I'm also a pretty, these days I'm a much pickier reader than I was as a child. And I have the privilege and the ability to be a pickier reader because as a child I read anything and everything, whether it was good, whether it was bad. I mean, I just devoured books and stories and you know, short stories and stuff. And I read a lot of things that weren't good, and I read a lot of things that were really great, and I read well above my age level right at the time, right? Like I mean, I was coming into like sixth grade with like full adult fiction novels, right? Um, so it's, I have the ability now as an adult who kind of can be picky and choosy over what I want to read. And in general, I find myself gravitating a little bit more towards fantasy stuff. Although I've kind of there's some urban stuff that I've been enjoying. I've developed a love of things like Annihilation and Lovecraft's works that I didn't have when I was younger. Same thing with Asimov. I haven't always liked Asimov. I didn't even read him until recently. And Journey to the Center of the Earth. What's the author's name for that? What do you know the author's name for Journey to the Center of the Earth? It's really
Isn't it,
famous.
isn't it the same guy that did 50,000
20,000
Leagues or
Leagues Under the
20,000?
Sea
Yeah.
and Around the World in 80 Days.
Yeah.
For the life of me, I can never remember his name when I need to. I know exactly who he is. I can never remember the name when I need to. Love his work, right? Absolutely think it's amazing. Thank you, Jules Verne.
That's right.
Yeah, love his works, right? And so I'm a lot pickier now, and I find that sci-fi gets weeded out faster than a lot of other genres. Just because it's not as fun to read when so many of them kind of feel the need to put all that explanation in it. Oh my god, H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells was another one I read. I hate War of the Worlds as a book. I bet you, War of the Worlds, as it was originally intended to be heard, right? As like a pseudo-real radio drama that came on day to day. Because War of the Worlds was originally like meant to be played as a radio drama that was essentially playing off being a real story, right? Like a real news story. I bet you if I could consume War of the Worlds in that context, fantastic. War of the Worlds as a book, I'd rather shoot myself in the head than read that again. It was awful. Same thing with the Martian Chronicles. I hate.
Oh, I hate the
Gladiator.
Martian Chronicles as well.
Hate
Like
it.
that is like, I part of why I don't like the Martian Chronicles. I just don't like vignette style storytelling.
But yeah, so like Zero Heroes, right? Like the broadcast of like War of the Worlds, that would probably be great.
Oh, I don't really want to discount the appeal of sci-fi because look, the sci-fi genre is where it is and is written like it's written because that is what the dedicated people that like sci-fi tend to really like. They do like sci-fi to be very technical. And I also don't think it's a big deal that you're not into that kind of sci-fi very much because guess what? Sci-fi amongst like all of like the fantasy genres, there's a reason sci-fi has historically been like the least popular amongst them. Like Star Wars is an anomaly, but Star Wars is pretty much not sci-fi. Like hardcore sci-fi fans will say Star Wars not sci-fi.
Yeah, Star Wars is closer to fantasy than it is
Yeah.
Star Wars. And the thing is, there's a series of you know how like romantasy is a genre, like romance fantasy? I
Mhm.
actually do. I did when I was a little bit younger actively read a series that was romance science fiction, right? Not like a romantasy, but definitely sci-fi setting with like this intergalactic league of assassins. Um and it's like space travel was involved and all that stuff, but I was like it was just a really fun series to read, to be honest.
Yeah.
You
Like
know?
personally, like if you want to know like what my tendencies and like genre preferences tend to go, sci-fi is also at the bottom of mine. For me, it really goes urban, high fantasy, or just fantasy, like more traditional fantasy, and then sci-fi.
Yeah, also tacos, I love Godzilla. It doesn't matter which version. I love Godzilla. I have at least consumed almost one of every single different director's versions of Godzilla.
Have
From
you
like
seen
the
the
ear-
Have you seen the
from like the
Singular Point ones?
not the Singular Point. That's one of the ones I haven't seen. But like from like the earliest like Gojira stuff that was like very clearly nuclear bomb inspired to like the more recent like kaiju monster fests that have been produced in the US. Like I've seen almost one of every single like era of Godzilla, and I love Godzilla. Like the first Godzilla I ever watched was like black and white on one of those like the fatter in the back TV square screen, like pixelating and shaking a little bit. Oh my god, fantastic!
Have
I
you
I,
watched
I love Godzilla.
Have you watched Godzilla? The new one. The was it Godzilla Zero? Godzilla? No, Godzilla minus one. Godzilla minus one.
Is that Or live action?
Live action. The brand new one
Is
from
it?
Japan.
No, I have not seen that one. It's too new.
It's so good. You need to watch it.
I want to. Believe me, I fucking want to.
I would throw it into our schedule if I didn't just throw both Agatha and Daredevil into our schedule and whatever else you want to watch after we're done with what was it after? We have a lot on our docket that we need to watch together.
We have to Critical Role.
Yeah. We have the
And then
Camelot movies, Agatha. There was
yes.
something else in between there, wasn't there?
I don't think so. Then it was Agatha and
Agatha and Daredevil, and then you whatever the trade-offs were for you.
yeah, which I'm just gonna have you watch a couple of dramas probably. Shorter stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
-1 is like one of the best. Like I've seen a few Godzilla films. It is definitely the best one
Yeah.
I've seen so far.
No, it's on my list of things that's like more immediate to watch when I finally sit down. The thing is, I kind of want to watch it with my mom because I've watched a lot of the Godzilla and kind of adjacent films with her, so
Tacos, we're not watching Agatha because it's going to be important to the next Avengers movie. It's really not going to be. We're watching Agatha because I
yeah.
genuinely think Seki would actually like Agatha because I really like Agatha,
We're
and
we're
she.
watching Agatha because I really liked WandaVision and I really liked Agatha in WandaVision. And I meant to watch Agatha, but I've hit the point with Marvel where it doesn't really matter anymore how much I'm interested in watching something. I just can't without incentives. Like genuine incentives. Either a trade off with making Knick-Knack watch something, or like somebody sitting next to me watching it with me who wants me to watch it. I've just hit that point with Marvel stuff. Also, Jag was that other thing I wanted to show you a couple episodes of. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy that the director got hired on for another one because the director really, really did a good job. Godzilla -1 sort of like brings back that tone and like style of Godzilla story from the very first Godzilla film, if you where it's supposed to be more of a force of nature kind of thing.
Mm,
So
yeah.
yeah,
That's fair.
look,
Yeah, no, I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of that. And what is Godzilla if not borderline sci-fi? Depending on the portrayal, of course.
yeah.
I
Have you
have
seen?
seen the Shin Godzillas, yes.
There's only one Shin Godzilla, and I want to watch it.
Yep.
I haven't watched it yet though.
I have seen it.
We have a
Yeah.
friend that like spent a solid like 3 years spamming how great Shin Godzilla was in one of our group chats.
Yeah. King fucking Mothra and King Ghidorah. Like we needed more kaiju. Well, I think you know what the reason why I haven't seen the those two recent Godzillas, the single point and -1, is because I've been trying to find time to watch the Godzilla King of the Monsters verse, like 3 or 4 movies with Godzilla and like Kong Skull Island, and then that TV show that's based on them as well that's coming out. I've been trying to find time to watch all that with my mother, and it's kind of hard, to squeeze it in. So not because they're good necessarily, but like I watched Kong Skull
Oh,
Island and enjoyed it, and I've seen some clips of the TV show,
I've
and it
heard pretty
looks
good.
pretty interesting.
I've heard pretty good things about Monarch.
And I've seen one of the Godzilla movies from that series, not Godzilla versus Kong. I think the one before that.
What's
I
up,
know,
Dohi
Mario.
Wario? You did miss us talking about all of our gaming stuff earlier.
See, Tacos Monarch, that's what I'm interested in watching. I'm curious about Monarch because it looks interesting. Like everything about it seems to be something that like me and Mama Seki would enjoy. Like by every description and every clip we've seen, it looks like something that is tailor made for us to enjoy together. You know? Interestingly enough, me and Mama Seki are very excited later this year for the new Jurassic World. Because even though the last 2 Jurassic Worlds were not fantastic, they're still fun enough to watch. And the third one actually looks really funny because they're going back to Isla Sorna, and we haven't been to Isla Sorna since the original trilogy.
See, Jurassic. I'm excited for the new Jurassic World, but also like the last two Jurassic Worlds were like punches in the guts for me. Like, I am a huge Star Wars fan. Last Jedi was never like my big rage moment. I can't fucking stand Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. That movie
Oh
pisses
yeah.
me off.
Yeah, the first Jurassic World is fine. It's fine. Dominion and Fallen Kingdom, not great.
I just think Dominion is just so mediocre and just
Yeah.
bland. Fallen Kingdom, though, I Fallen Kingdom is like antithetical to everything Michael
Yeah.
Crichton wrote in his original book.
Yeah. But they're going back to Isla Sorna, and aren't you excited to go back to Isla Sorna?
I'm excited to be rid of the original Jurassic World overarching plot. That's what I'm most excited
Yeah.
for. That we don't have stupid Chris Pratt, whatever the
Yeah.
woman, the actress's name was there, and the clone. I fucking hate where they went with that plot.
Dr. Wong? I love Dr.
No,
Wong.
I didn't say anything about Dr. Wong.
Oh, I thought you said the clone doctor.
No, the clone daughter.
Oh, never mind. Never mind.
Dr. Wong at least as a character I like in the original
Uh,
Jurassic Park, and I thought he was fine in Jurassic World 1.
Canonically, Wong is the best character in this entire series. Like, genuinely, because that man does not learn his lesson. He has never learned his lesson. Yeah, because aren't both, well, no, let's see, the first movie set on Isla Nublar. The second movie is also set on Isla Nublar.
No,
and
it's not.
The third movie, oh, is it not? Is it set on Sorna?
Sorna is the second movie. Third movie is also
Oh.
Sorna, and then they don't go back to Nublar until World.
Okay, here's the thing. I feel like and here's the thing. You know, I've seen all three of these movies a ton of times. I feel like I've always thought the second one was set on Nublar. Something about it made me always think that the second movie was set on Nublar, not Sorna. But yeah, anyways, I'm excited to go back to Sorna because yeah, Sorna and San Diego. Yeah, okay. Freshard, there was in fact a lesson to be learned for Wong. Did he learn it? No, so it's irrelevant.
But yeah,
I want them to get Jeff Goldblum back again for another movie.
yeah, they don't really have the Dr. Wong's like his character was never really a character. He just says some fun, cool things,
Yeah.
and then they don't know whether or not he's a good guy, bad guy, or neutral.
Yeah.
I'd say in the original he's. Well, I guess, yeah, in the actual World franchise, Dr. Wong's alignment. I think World was pretty accurate to his character, though. In the original, he was also not necessarily neutral. I'd say in the original, he was the scientist that Dr.
Yeah.
Ian Malcolm was criticizing.
Yeah, in Dr. Wong in the original movie was always meant to physically represent the they went so far to find out they didn't think about whether they should.
Yeah.
It's literally what Ian Malcolm says, is that Wong cares more about scientific achievement in the moment than he does about the aftermath of said scientific achievement, which makes him not an evil character, but not a good character. He's just driven solely by his own desire to discover and to create, whether or not those creations are good.
Yeah, I don't mind his character being taken in an evil direction eventually, because I do think that he is, while he's written to be neutral, he is like thematically supposed to be an evil character, or as evil as like the progression of science is supposed to be, in that, as far as the themes of the original goes.
I would almost compare it more to the evil of true neutrality, right? The evil of someone who doesn't take a stand and just sits and watches, right? Like, true impartiality is not kind to anyone.
I wouldn't mind if his character, like, in a well-written story, like, has a bit of a downfall and, like, is pretty firmly stated to be evil as the franchise goes on. In a well-written story, Fallen Kingdom is not a well-written story, mind you.
God. Oh, yeah. But yeah, no, I love Wong. See, here's the thing, Zero, once again, on the list of games I have acquired, I own now both Jurassic World Evolution games, right? And the thing is, I got anxiety playing one of them, and I wasn't even out of the tutorial. Like genuinely. See, here's the thing, Tacos. I have not read the books yet. I've been meaning to for a while, and I just have not like sat down to read them. I really need to because I want to read them.
The
Maybe
first
that's like
book
a
is
summer
so
project.
good.
I'm thinking that might be like something I do maybe while I'm down by you for like almost a month because I won't have much to do during the days. So maybe I can pick up a copy of Barnes and Nobles because I don't think we have a copy at the house. At least not one that I can find.
Hang on.
So I think I might pick up a copy at Barnes and Nobles and take it with me. I did find another interesting book in the history section that I took a picture of that I kind of want to pick up. So maybe I should, you know. Mama Seki wants me to watch Jaws. Zero Herrera. Mama Seki loves Jaws. Like absolutely adores it. Like literally makes the joke with like the sound all the time, and she really wants me to watch it, and potentially read it. But the thing is, when I was like, let's say like 11 or something, I was scarred forever by coming out like I want to say it was like 2 in the morning, and I like came downstairs because my grandparents were not in bed, right? They were still watching TV with the other kids, right? And they were watching Deep Blue Sea, which is a movie about a bunch of scientists creating like super smart mega sharks who then wreck the facility and slowly chase them down and eat them all in the middle of the ocean. And that was very traumatic for me to see at a young age, late at night, in the dark. And so I do actually want to watch Jaws and the Meg, like the original movies and the new Meg movie, but I have not gotten up the like courage to do that
So
thus far.
I'll say this, Tacos. I can see why you would prefer the movie over the book for Jurassic Park. I think the book is a lot more where the first movie's kind of not neutral, but a little bit more fair about scientific progression and technology. And it treats
Science.
it does still recognize that there's still an awe to seeing the dinosaurs and that this is not black and white. I do think the book's a little bit it leans almost a little bit closer to like Lovecraft levels of paranoia towards that progression.
In the book, right? In the movie, in the first Jurassic Park movie, science is not the problem. The problem is capitalism and human greed. Like the
Yeah.
everything bad that went wrong in Jurassic Park is directly caused by human fallibility and human greed, not the science. Whereas you get into later movies and then it's the science. Like Indominus Rex, no, stop fucking with genetics.
Well, actually, I unpopular opinion. I think Jurassic World is the best of the Jurassic Park sequels, even in the original trilogy. Because I do think it actually has something to say, unlike the rest of the original trilogy. Still great, like dinosaur monster films, but I think Jurassic World's the only other of the original or of the Jurassic Park franchise movies, the first Jurassic World, that actually had something to say. And it's not talking on the science part; it's talking more on the corporatization of things part. And I do actually kind of like that about Jurassic World.
I will say I do actually like the third movie a lot. I like the third movie a lot because it's once again human capitalism and greed.
Okay, but the third movie,
And human fallibility is the cause of everything that goes wrong because they wouldn't have had to go back to the island if that touring company had not been taking money for reservations to go parasailing over a dinosaur test site and then failed.
well, capitalism and greed is kind of the underlying villain of the entire franchise, including movies two and even the shitty two
Yeah,
Jurassic World
but
movies.
I don't like two. Of the original trilogy, I don't like two very much. Two was too far down the capitalism path, right? Like two felt like too much of a stretch, too much of a reach.
I think
Um,
look, and I think three is the more entertaining film to watch because three is definitely the more campy,
Yeah.
fun dinosaur roar movie of the three.
yeah, I mean, there's literally a sat bone in the dinosaur's shit.
That you can and literally, guys, the dinosaur swallows a phone and you can hear it in its gut, loudest ringtone. I don't know what the fuck they were on with Jurassic Park 3, but it's at least an entertaining It's an entertainingly bad movie in some places, and it's still got fun, like the dinosaurs are just scary monsters. I think it does that better than 2. I do think 2 is a little bit closer to... It's a little bit closer to having something to say. I just don't think 2 fully gets around to actually saying anything important.
Fair. I do want to say, Dakota Doyle's asked us twice now, have we seen any of the Sharknadoes? I know of the Sharknadoes. I have never seen the Sharknadoes. I will never see the Sharknadoes.
I haven't watched the Sharknado. I've watched some clips, and look,
I
I can respect purposely bad films.
Yeah, three is just three is camp. It's camp, and I love it for that. I don't really care so much about like the commentary it's making beyond the fact that like it's definitely human stupidity that's the biggest problem here, but it's just so wacky.
See, when I was a kid, 3 was actually my favorite Jurassic Park movie because I really liked the camp. I think as I've gotten older and after I've read the first Jurassic Park book, I feel like my focus on what makes a good Jurassic Park movie to me has moved a lot more towards especially the themes on the Jurassic Park like films are like a lot more under scrutiny for me now.
That's the thing. Famously, I watch these movies pretty often, right? Like I watch at least the original 3 plus World on a minimum of once a year, if not more often, because I have a Thanksgiving tradition where I sit down in the living room on the carpet, like Mama Seki's either behind me or in the kitchen, and I've got like a couple of bowls of water, a huge pot of potatoes, a really sharp knife, and I peel potatoes using a really sharp knife while watching these movies for fun every Thanksgiving. It's like my tradition. No, Frostshard, no, Dakota Doyle, I refuse. I'm not going to watch Sharknado. That's like a point of principle for me. I'll die on that hill. I'm never watching a Sharknado.
Of course you like 3. The main character of 3 is a dirt monkey just like you want to be.
Rude, but also true.
Yeah.
He's also, well, different type of dirt monkey. First of all, paleontology, very different from archaeology, and yeah. Second of all, he's also kind of one of the main characters of the first movie, too.
Well, he is the main character of the first movie, but we can both unanimously agree the first movie's good.
Yeah, and Jeff Goldblum really
like
fantastic.
Like I'll say this, I think the first book and movie are fucking masterpieces of fiction and entertainment.
Oh yeah.
Like I am shocked at how well that first movie still holds up to this day, visually, and then the storytelling wise feels especially relevant.
I'm gonna be honest, one of my favorite parts about Jurassic World, right, the first Jurassic World movie, is that they brought out the Rexy from Jurassic Park. Like, a few of the scenes where Claire is running from Rexy are with the original animatronic from Jurassic Park, and that really shows how well it stands up. Because, yeah, sure, they added special effects and stuff and touched it up, but it's the same thing! Oh, so beautiful. It's such a lovely tribute because they didn't have to, but they chose to. It was tasteful. Oh, I really like Jurassic Park movies, and honestly, the Jurassic World movies are, if nothing else, funny to watch. At least the first one is funny to watch every once in a while. I've not actually rewatched Fallen Kingdom or Dominion since the first time I saw them, and I don't think I ever will. At least not unless someone else wants to. But I've rewatched World a few times, and it's pretty funny, you know?
See, for me, Jurassic Park as a franchise starts with 1 and ends at World. I don't ever want to watch Fallen Kingdom or Dominion again. Maybe if someone like bribed me, I'll go watch Camp Cretaceous and its sequel, and I actually do kind of like...
Wait. No, Camp Cretaceous was fantastic.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it.
I watched Camp Cretaceous. I haven't seen the second season yet. I want to watch it so bad, but I really want someone else there watching it with me. I loved the first season.
And then I actually did like even though I hate Dominion, or I'm pretty like bored about Dominion, I did like the little, not teaser, but like short film they released in promotion of Dominion. I actually thought that was a really good film. almost
Yeah.
convinced me that Dominion is like I almost saved the franchise from me from Fallen Kingdom before Dominion immediately was like, no, we suck again.
Yeah.
But I am excited about the new movie because it's a different direction. The only thing it's keeping is the world title of it.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me see. Hang on.
Yeah, Short Battle at Big Rock. I actually did like Short Battle at Big Rock. Chaos Theory is the new
Okay.
show, the sequel to Cretaceous, right?
Yeah. So I do want to watch Chaos Theory too, but I'm gonna wait until I finish Camp Cretaceous because I haven't finished Camp Cretaceous yet. Um, yeah.
I've never seen the original script for Dominion.
No.
Why the fuck were the locusts the primary threat of that movie?
Because the plagues of Egypt.
Sorry, like few things get me more passionate in this world than the Jurassic Park franchise.
Bro, I'm like genuinely debating whether or not I should go get a new ice pack or not because like not I shouldn't keep it on constantly, but like oh, my ankle's hurting.
Was it really? That's unfortunate.
Interesting. Oh. Ugh. You know, that's the wild thing is that like recently I've watched like a couple of shows recently which were airing through the whole COVID thing, and so they decided to write storylines surrounding it, and I'm just like I feel like I don't really I don't really like watching shows with storylines about COVID. It feels a little too recent, a little too raw. To like flip from like one season to the next in like whatever show I'm watching, and then for them to be like 6 months into COVID, and it's like, yeah, we moved in together for this reason, you know, as they're arguing about something, and I'm like, ugh, I don't like this. I don't like this.
Fun fact: I'm pretty sure the new part of JoJo is like released in COVID and it is set during the modern day, and I'm pretty sure COVID is canon to it.
Like that.
But I've seen a few shows like a fun fact. Remember Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
It's like pretty famously, its storyline had to be rewritten also because it was like so poorly timed to be about a disease in the middle of COVID.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't know. I just, not something that I kind of want to see at this point. Um,
So Seki, you want to watch The Stand with me?
the what?
The Stand. It's a series about a super flu that kills off most of humanity.
No.
Yeah.
No. I'd rather watch The Most Dangerous Game.
I actually really like The Stand, but like it was funny when COVID first hit. One of the first thing I did was like, hey guys, I found a really good feel good old like limited short series to watch while you get through COVID. I just posted a picture of The Stand.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah. Well, Jurassic World itself, the original, was supposed to be a commentary on, like, literally a commentary on digging up old franchises, which is funny that it then became the basic, like, template on how to dig up and poorly revive old franchises.
The new Meg movie a year or two ago. I remember, because I remember I was like, I kind of want to watch the new Meg movie. It looks just cheesy enough that I feel like it would be a vibe, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Tacos, you weren't here for this. Oh. No context.
What?
That's it.
Honestly, Tacos, I do agree with you that Seki probably wouldn't like the stand, even ignoring the COVID aspect. Uh, and it does take a large turn to Christian themes, but it's also Stephen King, who is no stranger to like being brutal against that general type of
I'm
person.
also I'm also not a Stephen King fan.
Yeah.
Fun fact:
Well,
I've seen a couple of Stephen King movies. I'm not a Stephen King fan. I've even read one of the books. Not a
it
fan.
it's interesting because a lot of people would say that he's kind of doing the Lovecraft thing, but as a more modern author.
I, having read both, I don't agree. I don't think what he's doing is really comparable. I think he's certainly writing horror, but he's not writing Lovecraftian type horror.
Well, they're doing two
Uh,
different things. I have seen breakdowns of like where they differ,
yeah.
but they're playing with ideas in similar ways. It's just that Stephen King falls back onto things that Lovecraft didn't necessarily go to. But also part of why Lovecraft never fell back on them is because he was a paranoid bastard.
Also, half of the situations that Stephen King writes about couldn't have existed when Lovecraft was alive.
Well, obviously.
Cars, proms.
Honestly, though, if I were to recommend any Stephen King story for you, it wouldn't even be one of his horrors.
That's how I feel about it. More like a pulp horror than Lovecraftian. Annihilation, I think, is closer to a Lovecraftian story than anything Stephen King has written, personally. And that's because the whole thing about Lovecraft is it is this unknowable horror that's driving people mad in Annihilation. You know, Lovecraftian stuff thrives on the fact that it's like indescribable. It's a very particular type of horror, and it doesn't work in every situation. Even in like Lovecraft's work, some of those stories just aren't that great when you really think about them. You know, there's a reason why he wasn't more popular when he was actually writing and alive. Like a lot of his stories found audiences later. And it was because of like cult followings and other developments in the world. I mean, the Cthulhu mythos is developed and written by more than just him. Like, sure, he wrote the original Cthulhu story, but other authors have added into that universe later.
Well, that's part of why Stephen King kind of struggles because he actually does struggle. He's famously struggles with endings, and a huge part of that is he'll start trying to build up something Lovecraftian, but he's not willing to sit down and truly truly like lean into how terrifying that is. He does ultimately want to write a story where that thing can be mostly overcome. So, and to do that, you can't really keep that unknowable horror thing going. So it often gets convoluted trying to fix that. That's kind of the problem it falls into, ignoring the other
Yeah,
problems of the original It book.
yeah, because
Um,
part of the thing with like traditional Lovecraftian horror is there is no solution. There's nothing to fix. There's no way to avoid it besides just leave.
but
Right? Like
that's
there's
also
nothing to
very
beat it.
indicative of H.P. Lovecraft's mentality of the things he was scared of.
Exactly.
Stephen
Yeah.
King is a lot more hopeful than Lovecraft, which is
I don't
why
like that.
you don't get the full Lovecraft like, oh yeah, no, this is terrible. You should have gotten out at the beginning and you're fucked now kind of
Yeah,
stories.
I don't like that. That's very positive of him. I'm not a fan.
But if I were to recommend a Stephen King book too, it wouldn't even be Lovecraft. It would be Shawshank, or not his like leans at Lovecraft sort of horror. It would be Shawshank actually, because
I don't like Shawshank.
you don't like Shawshank. What the fuck?
Nope.
That's
I
like one of
don't
my
like
favorite
it.
films of all time.
I don't like it.
What? Oh my god.
Sorry.
Guys, the channel's over. I'm shutting it down. I can't be on a channel with someone with zero taste.
I say that every day, and yet I'm still here. Oh. Yeah, tacos. I like it when someone makes their anxieties my problem. I am mostly joking. But yeah, no, I'm not a. It's not that I think Shawshank is bad, it's just not not very enjoyable for me. I don't like watching it. Yeah, I would not watch it again.
Yeah, Frost Shard, I think I'm going to be taking her out back. Gotta put her down. There's no cure for this. It's
But Jack
terminal.
Jack would be so upset.
Nah,
Who
he's got a
who
lot of
else
favorite
could
people.
who else could he purposely jump on top of the injuries of
Me,
whenever I come and visit?
my dad, my mom.
That's fair. Uh,
Yes, exactly, tacos. Exactly. Have you seen that meme?
no.
It's it's a Family Guy meme. I've never watched Family Guy, but this meme I've seen it around. It's just of everyone about to die, and Peter Griffin is there, like as this room is flooding in with everyone about to die. He's like, "I have a confession to make before I die. I don't like the Godfather movies."
I have seen that meme.
And his reasoning is like, it insists upon itself. And the entire
Yeah.
point of it is supposed to be like, this is a stupid ass complaint of someone who just didn't like it, but doesn't know how to explain they didn't like it. Because apparently this was like Seth MacFarlane, I think is the guy's name that makes Family Guy. Like one of his university professors said that about something. And he's like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah, no, I do know that meme now that you explained it. I've got a confession to make. I did not like The Godfather. What? I did not like it.
It insists upon itself.
Yeah, I remember
I don't know.
that now.
Like I do respect that there. Jokes aside, I do respect that we all have our tastes, and we don't always need to boil it down to an objective level. That doesn't mean I'm not taking Seki out back and putting her down.
Just try it. I'll fight back.
No, you won't. You're injured.
Shut the fuck up.
Look, people put down animals for broken bones before. This is no problem at all ethically.
I am low-key in so much pain. It has not, in fact, gotten better all day today. It has, in fact, only gotten worse. Like, I am seriously considering whether I should just call the doctor tomorrow and see if I can get in earlier. Than I would have otherwise been able to. Because I have an appointment Monday, but can I wait till Monday? Ah, you know?
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. Oh. Yeah, I think. Oh. Hello, Peachy. Oh, you are so dumb.
So, are you watching any anime this? I know you were watching anime last year. I don't know if you've kept up. I know you finished Solo Level. Like you watch Solo Leveling week to week, but I don't know if you've picked up anything new.
I tried.
I'm not saying you have to. It's on you. It's so long as you still have stuff to submit for channel, you're fine.
I tried the beginning after the end.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. I saw clips of that and I was like, damn it.
Broke me. I have not touched a single other anime since that wasn't for the purposes of the channel. It broke me. It broke me a little bit. A lot of it, actually.
Tacos, I would love to go into how the Switch 2 pre-orders went, but I did, like, I already
yeah,
subjected
back
Seki to, like,
30,
40 minutes of that at the beginning of the stream. I'm not going to make her do it again. I got 3.
Ugh. Let me pull up the seasonal anime for this season. Let's just take a look at what I might have been interested in had I...
I'm watching Vigilantes
Had I
right now,
not
which is
been-
funny because I stopped keeping up with original MHA, but I am
read-
watching Vigilantes.
I read Vigilante, so I didn't choose to watch it this season. In theory, I should have watched the second season of Slime 300 then, which is currently airing. Let's see.
I watched the first season completely separate from the channel, just on a whim.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I sometimes forget that I didn't watch it on the channel. We haven't watched it on the channel yet. I was like, I'll just wait till it comes around for the channel. Then I remember we haven't watched for the channel.
Yeah, no, I think I was the one who introduced you to it.
Well, you told me about it, and I knew about it from
Yeah.
you, but like I was like just in the mood for something like that day. I'm like, okay, Slime 300 and
Yeah.
then fuck it. Once in a while, I have to give Seki what she wants.
Yeah. The other slime anime. Uh, let's see.
Is there a Guilty Gear anime coming out?
The Two Perfect Saint Tossed Aside was on my watch list. Jesus, Peachy, have some decorum.
Japan likes its slimes, tacos. Blame Dragon Quest.
They really do, yeah. Oh yeah, the Gorilla God anime was coming out.
The what?
So, the Gorilla God's go-to girl. So it's one of those, she's like the daughter of a count, and people in this world receive blessings from various animal gods, but she got chosen by the Gorilla God. Instead of, like, something dainty and feminine.
Yeah, that's it for me right now on the anime side. I'm honestly not watching a lot of TV right now, period. Even Vigilantes I'm watching completely like on my phone, which has not been something I've done lately. I'm actually behind on Star Wars too. Andor Season 2 is coming out right now. 3 episodes a week, I think. Or 3 episodes every few weeks. Something like that. And I haven't watched them yet. I want to. I just haven't had the time. Haven't had the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that those were, there wasn't a whole lot I was planning to watch this season regardless, and the beginning after the end just hurt me deep inside. Oh, tacos, you did what? Oh yeah, off the shelf Vigilantes. Well, I read it.
I'm really liking Vigilantes so far. Like it's got me hooked.
See, hang on, tacos. There's Rimuru, Tempest Slime. There's Slime 300 Nen. There's Weakest Tamer Slime. There's By the Grace of the Gods Slime. There's Campfire Cooking in Another World Slime. There's a lot of slime animes. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm excited to keep watching it. It's restoring my interest in My Hero Academia, which is like I almost want to go and finish up or catch up on the main series too, but maybe I'll wait till I'm done with Vigilantes.
Campfire Cooking in Another World is stunning. I didn't finish watching My Hero, but I did read it all the way through. I think a lot of times with like animes that are kind of coming out seasonally, like something like My Hero or like Jujutsu Kaisen, I ended up just going and reading it because it was faster for me than waiting for the anime to come out, you know? And then trying to catch up with so much. So, yeah.
Look, Tacos, I didn't stop watching My Hero Academia because people were mean. I've never thought My Hero Academia has been a bad anime. I just thought it got kind of formulaic at a certain point myself.
Zero. That is Slime Taoshite 300 Nen. I killed slimes for 300 years and now I'm max leveled. Yeah. That is Slime Taoshite 300 Nen. Yeah.
Look, honestly,
I know my slime anime.
Honestly, Seki, I get it. I did that with an anime series that aired recently. No, I actually did go and finish that anime series because it was really well. It was a really good anime. But Dawn to Dawn, I ended up reading a good chunk past where even I think season 2 is going to end, and I did it just because like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go read it. I do. I will say. I will say I'm not as fast a reader as you are though. So like as soon and I did that while we were kind of on a break from the channel. As soon as the channel started up again, I've completely stalled on reading that series and I blame you entirely.
Well, I will say I know that there is more Black Butler coming out. I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of waiting until it's like done because here's the thing, I read up to like now in the manga. Like I watched the original anime series. I didn't watch the season 2 with Alois and Claude or whatever his fucking name was. I watched a couple of the movies. I liked Book of the Atlantic, but Black Butler's one of those series where I feel like it's just gotten in a bid to keep it going. It feels like it's gotten so strange and convoluted at this point that it's not the same series that we started with, and nothing makes sense anymore. And it's just not good anymore. Like, not to be mean about it, but like it's not good anymore. Like I didn't enjoy reading to like what's current in the manga. It's bullshit. Like, shit is happening and there's no reason for it to be happening other than the fact that the author is unable to decide, what they want to do in certain situations. And then the mess with season 2 and all the various movies and now the new season. I don't know. I put Black Butler in the hat, but I'm only having us watch up to a certain point of season 1, and then I'm not putting it back in the hat. And I'm perfectly happy with that decision.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm having us watch what I think are like the best and funniest parts of Black Butler, and then I'm just gonna leave you guys with the good stuff and not the other shit.
I feel like that sometimes because I've got right now in the hat I've got Oshinoko. Man, that series falls off fucking hard, and there's a part of me that just wishes I could show you the very first episode and leave it there and just let you guys imagine the ending.
Hey, Doho or Tacos, topical.
I won't be honest, Tacos. Oshinoko season 1 might be the stopping point because I do not enjoy the arc that season 2 adapts.
Doho Oreo, I'll get to it eventually. Like, it's definitely on the list of things that like I do want to watch, but like I've got other stuff I need to do first, and it's just not really a priority for me anymore. What'll probably happen is if and when it comes out of the hat, I'll end up finishing it then. At least up to whatever anime is out. Just for myself. Now, Knick-Knack, I don't mean to be this person, but I'm gonna go at 10 because I need food. And
No,
pills.
you're not allowed to eat. You must sit there hungry and suffering.
No, I need food and pain pills. And maybe a new ice pack.
Look at you failing our viewers.
I
First, you come in and lie about your injury, and next you're gonna walk off early.
technically, by definition, I did fight a bear, a large hairy mammal, hailing from a northern climate.
That's not even an accurate definition of a bear. Why the fuck would you tell them you were fighting a bear?
I also like eating fish, a lot, raw.
Liar and a quitter. Liar and a quitter.
I don't know when we're gonna get Apocrypha Part 2, Tacos.
Next time I actually get to submit something.
Oh, so this season?
Yep.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, no, like I'm not holding it back on you guys. It's just the slow turnaround, and just it's not in the rando hat because we're not adding anything this season.
Yeah, I forget about that sometimes.
Now, Rando Hat could pull out random FGO parody anime, and that'd be kind of a funny breakup of that. But like, everyone seemed to like Apocrypha season 1 more or less, so I'm gonna keep it going. I've got to look into that. Wakata and I originally was, but it's got a season 2 that basically doubles the length of how many episodes there are. So I don't know that it fits cleanly into our amount of like how much time goes into those gag anime. So we'll see. Yeah. That might just become its own separate submission with how much of it exists now.
I mean, at least with like stuff like that though, if it's not a full 24 minutes, you can like do some math.
Oh yeah, that's originally what I was doing. I was just going to give season 1 and then a bunch of other smaller, like real short FGO gag anime. But the problem, and then like the biggest, fullest things were the 2 Carnival Phantasm episodes. But now we're getting into like 2 seasons of that, and math-wise, even if it still works, because it might still work math-wise, But even if it doesn't, even if it does work math wise, do I really want to oversaturate it with FGO Wakata 9 instead of giving that its own separate submission?
Fair. Oh, you know what? Question. Can I derail us into a slightly different topic?
Go ahead.
I just came across a new Minecraft series on YouTube, right? And here's the thing. I have started watching Minecraft content because I've started playing. But I'm not like sitting there watching people's like hardcore playthroughs and stuff. Except for this shit that I discovered. Have you heard of UHC Generations?
No.
Okay. Since this creator, Flaming Moai, back in 2022, started an ultra hardcore Minecraft survival world, right? And you know how the ultra hardcore Minecraft survival mode works, right?
More or less, yeah.
See, you can only heal with potion effects. It's the only option you have for healing, and if you die, you die. That's it. There's no respawn. Nothing. Anyways, so what he did was he started making a series, but the goal of the series is that when he dies, he passes it on to another creator not in his immediate circle. So that they can work in that same world, right? And so on it goes. It's on the fifth generation right now of creator. Like the fifth person has the world now. And it's absolutely fucking fascinating because it's just these people who come into a world and they have like if they want they can go look at the previous creators videos but they don't have to, and it's 100% just like build and continue and leave things for like the next generation to find or use. And it's a very good example of like like a very contained example of the adage that it's not our parents' world. Our parents borrow it from us, and it's our world, right? Because it's what are you leaving for the next generation? But it's absolutely fascinating series. The episode, like the early couple creators, their episodes are all like really short, right? Like 5 to 15 minutes. The most recent generation, like the last two generations, they've been making like longer videos. But it's really interesting.
So, Seki, are you jumping for the chicken or are you jumping for the beef?
I don't know what that means.
So there's this Minecraft series that
I
went
ain't jumping
viral.
for shit right now.
There's this Minecraft series that went extremely viral, like 3 to 6 months ago, I think it was. That was, it was a meme because it was a role playing Minecraft series built entirely around parkour, and it was like this ultra serious dystopian setting where the entire world is built around Minecraft parkour, and everyone only gets fed if they can perform a jump. Either you jump like just basically one block away for chicken, or you have to jump like this seemingly like you would look at it and say you can't make that jump, but it's just a really hard jump to pull off for beef, which is just a lot more filling in Minecraft. It is conceptually the stupidest thing ever, but somehow the creator put like a lot of writing effort into it that actually made it kind of entertaining to watch.
I would jump for the chicken probably because it's easier.
That means you're a person that falls in line. Also, if you fall off, you get. I think it's either you die or you get sent to this like other place where if you fall, you are dead.
Yeah, no, I don't want to risk that. Anyways, I thought I'd bring up the series because I thought it was a really cool concept, like having this world that I mean, it was what's the theme of like the tagline of the series when the first person Flaming Moai created it was death is inevitable, it came for me and it'll come for you, right? And the next person continued, death is inevitable, it came for my friend, it'll come for me, right? And it will come for you. Caesar Herrera. But it's just, and I think each creator's kind of come into it with a very different perspective, right? And like, for example, the fourth generation creator, he came into it and he was like, hey, I really want to like archive the history of the world, right? Like I want to collect important artifacts that like the first three creators have collected. I want to build a little museum. Like I want to build things in the world, but I also want to do this other stuff. Or like the third creator was really into creating farming setups, like mob farming, iron farming, and all that sort. And so like the third creator created a bunch of stuff like that, but wasn't really around to like benefit from it all that much. So it's kind of left for the future generation, and so on. Like the fifth creator right now, he's really into creating farming setups, like mob farming, iron farming, and all that sort. And so like the third creator created a bunch of stuff like that, but wasn't really around to like benefit from it all that much. So it's kind of left for the future generation. And so on. he's putting a huge amount of effort into exploring the world, right? Like a huge mapping project and so on. But they've also done these like really amazing builds that have been built on by multiple people sort of building not even collaboratively at the same time, but just linearly following after like what do I need? Let me build this, let me add that. I just think it's really interesting. It's a relatively short series too because of the length of a lot of the early episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoyed. I pretty much have binged my way all the way through it in like one day. I'm like 3 videos behind on Generation 4, which is the one because I started on 5. I found the series on the 5th creator, watched his series, and then went back and started from scratch. But yeah, it was very interesting. There's a dead cat on the chair next to me. Do you have a dead dog?
Yes.
Are you going to show us your dead dog?
Not. Probably can't get around to that.
Dang. Dang. Should take a picture and send it in chat.
You guys have plenty of you have plenty of pictures of a dead dog in chat.
That's true. That's true. Jack is very photogenic.
All right. Well, I think it's probably time to be wrapping things up. You have a Witcher stream tomorrow that you'll be doing.
Yeah, it'll probably be short though.
And well, if it happens at all, you said it also could just be canceled.
Yeah, I'll put out a community post if I do. Depending on how I feel waking up in the morning, I might just call the doctor when they open at 8, and then that'll depend whether I stream or not will depend on if I can get an appointment early enough in the morning.
And then I'll be back on this Saturday at 3 p.m. for FGO for some spoiler fights, heavy spoilers. So
I was gonna say I might pop into chat, but if it's spoiler stuff, I can't.
Story spoilers, I mean. So like not servant spoilers, but stories, like huge story spoilers. So yeah, but yeah, I hope to see you guys there. And Seki, got anything to say before we go?
I hope you guys will really enjoy tomorrow's Seki Reacts. I had a lot of fun with it.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see y'all next time. Have a good one.